All right, there we go.
All right.
The firm wishes to change its fiscal year end date. Under 17A5, the broker-dealer must file a notice with each of the following except.
B.
Yeah,
I don't even know what that is.
kind of silly. I mean, yeah, I don't think I wouldn't worry about that question at all.
Okay.
Form 144 does not have to be filed by an affiliate if the amount sold in any 90-day period.
It's 2 and 4. So B.
2 and 4 is correct. We call that in Latin de minimis.
Mhm.
The whole point about 144 is not disturbing the public marketplace. And
Right.
so if it's more than that, you have to file Form 144. I'm going to use this to riff too, Nicole, and just see, what else is in your brain housing group. So
Sure.
what, assuming we don't qualify for de minimis, which is this question, what would be the volume limitations? Excuse me.
That's the 1% of the average trading volume of 4 weeks. It's the 144 thing.
Right on. So 1% of the outstanding stock or the average of the last 4 weeks trading volume, whichever is
Greater
greater, right? Very important.
than
One
90
other point.
days.
On your test on Monday, husbands and wives are always to be considered acting in concert. So if I say the husband has 2% and the wife has 9%, is the husband subject to Rule 144? The answer is yes. Right. So whenever you get the phraseology acting in concert, or that means a conspiracy, right? And we're considering that person to be affiliated. By the way, they have to file that regardless of how they got the stock, whether they got the stock in the secondary market and it's not restricted, or they got directly from the issuer and it is restricted, doesn't matter. They're always subject to the volume limitations. If the stock is restricted further, they would have to have held it for 6 months. What's
Okay.
the volume or differences between the cop? I always think a good way to remember is the cop. You do bad things, who might show up? The cop, right? The cop is about, we'll see what you know about it in Code of Arbitration. I like this one. The other one I would add into this mix is the Uniform Practice Code, And the other one I would add into this one is the Code of Conduct. So all those things are testable things. And I would think of that as like an ABCD. Okay, what's your answer for this one?
Um, Let me just take a look. So I think just by looking, let me just read all the answers.
Love that, by the way. We
I
always read all the answers. I always say RTMA, read the full answers then.
I think it's 1 and 3.
You are
So
correct. You are correct. The Code of Procedure, the conduct rules, that's called the Department of Enforcement. So not Bueno here from the Department of Enforcement. That's about trade practice complaints, like backing away, failing to honor a firm quote, for example. Arbitration is settle civil disputes, right? The Code of Conduct is ethical behavior that broker dealers and associated persons with customers. Uniform Practice Code is back office stuff. A
okay.
nephew of an elderly, often forgetful 85-year-old man is looking to open an investment account, joint tenants with rights or survivorship with the uncle. The representative is unsure what to do. The branch office manager advises the representative to.
A, open an account with
Right
a
on.
firm.
Perfect, right? Power of attorney assigned to a competent person. There you go. All the following statements regarding registration as an OTC pink market maker are true, except.
Sorry, these ones take me. I do like process of elimination.
Take all your time. Listen, we want to get a good mark, and getting a good mark means we don't want to have any excuses when we're done that we didn't take enough time or we didn't read the answers. So once we've queued this thing up, it's we want to get a good simulation.
So the way that I normally do this is I'll eliminate the ones that I know are true.
I like
So
I like it. That's exactly what I would do.
perfect. Okay, so I know with C on the over-the-counter market, one-sided quotes are allowed.
There you go. That is true.
So I'll eliminate that one. A firm must wait 20 business days to re-register following a voluntary termination. I don't think that one's true. I think that's false.
You are correct. Good job. Excellent. I like on these true, except the other thing, your timeline, as we mentioned, is kind of collapsing. But we'll see how you feel. And, I like to make poor man's flashcards out of these kind of questions because we don't want to study the false information. And I call this a poor man's flashcard. So now, if I'm studying, I have the three things I should know and not the thing I'm not supposed to know. And it's really easy to pick up negative information from these true accept questions. Now that 20 days would be for a NASDAQ market maker, right? So good job.
Right.
Excellent.
Because you like with B,
Mhm.
piggybacking, you still have to file a form
That's
211.
exactly right. I do think you're going to get a question on piggybacking.
Okay.
So absolutely right. Remember this, see the other one? The one that's missing here that you should know is what if I was your NASDAQ market maker and you get booted from NASDAQ? Do I have to file Form 211 to follow you down there? I call it's just my terminology, Nicole, but I call stocks that get booted to the pinks as fallen angels.
Hmm.
They used to be New York or NASDAQ and they get, booted down. Is there a home for fallen angels? Their answer is yes. My brother told me somebody wanted to pay him to get him back up on the NASDAQ marketplace. And I said, Chris, that's ridiculous. I mean, you're not even an attorney. I mean, I've never heard of that. It's impossible. You know, I guess you could take the person's money, but I don't even have. I've I've seen fallen angels get back up, with millions of dollars in accounting and legal fees and things like that. That obviously this issue didn't have if they were thinking of hiring my brother to do this. So,
Oh boy.
but anyways, that would be the other way to test point to not file the Form 211. If I was their NASDAQ market maker 30 days before their delisting, I can follow them down there without following the Form 211. And the other test
Okay.
was I can't become their NASDAQ market maker with the express purpose of following them to the pinks. I have to have been the word they love on the test and in legal circles and compliance circles, Nicole, is the word bona fide,
Hmm.
good faith. All the following systems are used to report trade information. I like this one. We talked about your Dean to-do list before we started queuing up this practice simulation practice test. And I think this is the way to kind of get these questions. So,
Okay. So, all right, so this is an accept question.
mhm.
My gut just initially is telling me oats. That's an order audit trail system.
uh,
Oh wait, let me just go
yeah,
through each one.
I like what you did there because you caught yourself. You just said what that is, and then you went back to the question and go, oh, wait a minute. That is one of those things.
Okay, so we know oats is. Trace also reports for bonds.
That's right.
The TRF reports for, I believe, like NASDAQ.
Right on.
So it's the CQS, the quotation system.
Yeah, that's a quotation system isn't a trade reporting system.
Okay.
So that's kind of what I was telling you. You wanted to kind of distinguish between the front end quotes and the back end, the plumbing, right? So
Okay.
I think of B, C, and D as being about that plumbing. So good job. I love that you read. I recommend you do that with all of these acronyms that they use. I love what you did to spell that out. So every time I hear like NMS, like a national market system, every time I hear TRACE, trade reporting and compliance engine, TRF, trade reporting facility, ordered auto trail system. So sometimes when you do what you did there and you spell out that acronym, it becomes easier to figure out what the question's about. Which of the following communication does not require principal approval pre-distribution? Is the way I say it, prior to distribution.
Okay, so this one is which does not. So does it's institutional communications.
Yeah, the whole point about does not require institutional communication, yeah, is that institutions are capable of protecting their own interests. The way I say it, they're capable of protecting their own assets. But remember, if we have proper procedures in place, we can make sure that we don't have to do it for correspondence. I just think that B is a better answer than D, because D says any institutional communication,
Mhm.
any. And there is some institutional communication that would still require prior pre-distribution by a principal. So I like this answer better than that, but we'll see what Kaplan says. The 5% policy applies all the following except, I like this. This is very much a test question.
Spreads and new issues. So
Right on,
B.
doesn't apply to the primary market, right? Mutual funds up to 8.5%. New issues, maximum syndication fees. You know what maximum syndication fees would be? In a partnership,
No.
for example,
I
10%,
mm,
10%. You know what the maximum in is a mutual fund?
8.5.
Right on. Now, please note, this is a policy, not a rule. A
Okay.
policy is for the guidance of wise men and women, rules for the blind obedience of fools. So we can charge more than 5%, but we better have a good reason. And there are good reasons and bad reasons. How about you're the last trader of the broker month and I got to make it up on someone? No. How about you're particularly difficult as a customer? So for you, up 200% of the commission schedule. How about, it's a foreign security in a foreign market. So what this amounts to is broker dealers have to have a normal pattern to their charges. If they depart from that normal pattern, then they got to have a reason. A member firm engaged solely in the sale of mutual fund securities will be subject to 100,000 minimum dollar capital requirement if it affects how many transactions in its investment account. Well, that's kind of interesting, right? At some point, they're saying you're not following the spirit of why we're letting you have a lower net capital standard.
hmm It's funny because this makes my brain go to the non-branch where it's like 25 trades a year, but I don't think that
Yeah, no,
applies.
it's a different question. Right? Good point, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a different
Um,
question. And I wouldn't worry about it, to be honest with you, but it's.
I don't know why my gut's telling me 15, but that's a complete guess.
Yeah, it's 10. It's
It's
10.
10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, by the way, I wouldn't even worry about this, except to know that 100,000 is the minimum net capital for a market maker,
Right.
right? And if
Okay.
you're just doing mutual funds and you were to do wires, that would be 25.
Okay.
Or you're going to do a wire order. So, just those numbers in general. I don't think so. There's two things that test prep vendors and tutors like Dean think, probably me more so than not. But the two areas we think that you can overdose on that aren't as big a deal as people sometimes think when they're doing like self-study are margin and fiscal responsibility net capital, because you can really go down some rabbit holes on those, and they don't pay dividends. I'm not saying it's not there. 250 for a clearing firm, 50,000 for fully disclosed. You want to do best efforts and firm commitment underwriting. I mean, that stuff's there, but it's all the following have the capability to clear transactions except. So this is again along the lines of the things we're acting. And I was saying, well, we just got to be able to distinguish between the front end and the back end in terms of the plumbing.
I think this one is the DTC.
You're correct. You're correct. Depository Trust Corporation, right? They're actually provide the safekeeping and all that kind of stuff. Good job. In a 10 million corporate long-term fixed income underwriting, 400,000 remains unsold at the end of the offering. I like this. I've had many debriefs where people are saying this shows up. And I always like when we find a good one like this to make a note. So later on, I can share it with other folks because that's how good I think it is. 6026, series 24. All right. So there's a couple of pivots here. A syndicate member with a 10% commitment has sold 1 million of this Eastern account offering. Eastern is also known as undivided. Its liability is very much a test question. Now, but the other reason I like these, Nicole, is I told you on 24, there's very few practical application questions. When we can get a practical application question, we want to perform, whether it's debit by 0.75 or credit by 1.3 or this. So what say you?
D.
You are correct. Oh, let's see. You said D, 40,000. There you go. And 10% of the 400,000, right? You're correct. Now, if I just change one word here and I say a Western account offering, also known as divided, then the answer would have been
So it's divided, so it would have been 0.
excellent, excellent, excellent. When a registered rep compares mutual funds during a sales presentation, which of the following would not be permissible? Not be permissible.
Oh, the first one, comparing an equity growth fund to a money market with the intention. Yeah, that one's a given.
Some of them, By the way, this has been big picture talk about this test question. On the 24th, it's important to know that reps should not make unfair comparisons. That any
Yeah.
comparison a rep is going to make should be a fair comparison.
Okay. That's like my job. Just making sure
Yeah.
people don't say things like this. So A.
Yeah. Right on. That it's 24 questions go. I think that's pretty much a layup. If the mark-to-market demand for cash deposit is sent by one broker to another, the required amount of cash must be deposited.
So this was one of the things that I've been struggling with. I just have to guess on these ones.
Okay, well, what's your guess?
Probably within 5 business days.
You missed it. So
Okay.
the answer here is promptly as possible. Now, the reason that's purposely left vague
Hmm.
is because I want to be able to take action against you, right? So you say, well, Dean, when do you want this cash deposit? I say, Nicole, as promptly as possible. And,
Mm,
then if I take action, I'm gonna say, well, that wasn't prompt enough, Nicole. And if you think I'm being arbitrary, then we go to arbitration. Right. I have had a guy who was tutoring verse 24 back in the days when we did this live, and I was in his office and he got a call and I said, well, do you want me to, leave your office while you handle this call? He goes, no, you're welcome to, stay here while I handle it. And it was this kind of a scenario. And I could only here's the end of the conversation, Nicole, but I thought he was being kind of nice because he kept saying promptly and he wasn't moving off promptly. And then
mm,
finally he said, whoever he's talking to, I'll tell you what, if it's here by the end of the day, not a problem. Oh, okay, that was nice of him. He basically moved off his promptly to the end of the day. I could only hear his part of the conversation. But then he said, okay, let me try and rephrase it to you. If it's not here by the end of the day, it's a problem. He didn't threaten him with a buy-in or sellout. I don't know what side of the trade the guy's on, but that's basically
mhm.
what he's kind of setting up the guy to have the next call be, well, Nicole, didn't we have a discussion about making good? Which of the following would be included in a penny? By the way, I don't think you're doing poorly at all. I have no red flags whatsoever. And we said first is the Hippocratic Oath. We don't do anything that causes us to go backwards.
Mhm.
So far, your performance has been excellent. So nobody gets 100, right? We just need to make sure we stick within the target range. Which one
Yeah,
would be included in a penny stock disclosure statement?
all of the above. A.
Yeah, right on, right on. What is the definition of a penny stock?
A non-NASDAQ or a non-listed stock under 5
You're correct. Uh, how often do I have to give you a statement if you have a penny stock in your account?
monthly.
Right on. Usually it's quarterly, penny stock, monthly. Uh, do I have to give this disclosure statement to established customers?
No.
And what makes you an established customer?
If you've had an account for more than 1 year or done 3 penny stock trades.
You are good. You
I've
are
watched your videos, Dean. I've watched them.
good. You are good. An introducing member that executes more than 10 transactions per year has a minimum net capital. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, is it C?
Right on, right on. Assuming we got that. Boom.
The wrong ones like stick in my mind. So when I get it wrong, I'm kind of
I,
like, yeah.
I do think this is a challenge on the exam because the distractors are the technical name for wrong answers.
Okay.
They're pretty good at distractors that would have been correct answers to different questions.
Mhm.
right? So that's one of the challenges, right? All those numbers could have been right. A is a clearing broker dealer. B is a fully disclosed broker dealer who can accept customers' monies and securities for prompt forwarding to the clearing firm.
Mhm.
100,000 is the market maker, and that's what they're assuming you become if you're doing more than these 10 transactions. Right. Then you always have to rise and meet 5,000 will be a limited broker dealer, mutual fund by application only, perhaps. And then, there's another net capital standard besides this, which is, and very rarely does a broker dealer struggle with these numbers that we're looking at here. The bigger problem for broker dealers on fiscal responsibility is how much aggregate indebtedness you can have for each dollar of net capital, right? That's the one that gets people in trouble, 15 to 1 or 8 to 1 or whatever the case might be. But yeah. Under 17A11, a member is in violation of its net capital if debt to equity exceeds 70% for a period of more than,
C, 90 days.
right on. A lot of us finance broker dealers, which are called subordinated loans.
Mhm.
This rule does not apply if the subordinated loan is coming from a principal of our firm. But if this
Oh,
loan is coming from a third party, then this rule applies. And the idea here is I'm not going to be a good steward of the capital if none of it belongs to us and belongs to some lender. And so that's our third standard net capital. We have a hard dollar amount. We have an AI to net capital number. And our third is this debt to equity. My firm, I originally financed it with my own equity and a subordinated loan from a guy named Bill. And anyways, when I paid him back early, he said, "Why are you paying me back early?" I said, "One reason is I'm prepaying this is because I don't want to have to worry about debt to equity. I don't have any debt. I don't have to worry about this third thing, right? I got one more thing that's off my, my bucket list. On the code of arbitration, a respondent must answer in how many days from receiving a statement of claim.
I always struggle with this. I thought it was
So we're talking about code
20.
of arbitration.
Mhm.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I thought it was 20, and then if they don't get a response, it's 15, so it's a
I
total of
think that,
35.
well, yeah, well, so this is what we talked about mind meld. This is not about the cop
Okay.
code of procedure and you responding to FINRA's Department of Enforcement. What you just gave me the answer, Nicole, is to the response to the Department of Enforcement from FINRA.
Okay.
This is not about the code of procedure. This is about the code of arbitration. Now, I agree with you. I think the biggest challenge on 24 is this idea of how bifurcated it is, bipolar it is, barbell, that we have these judgment questions and then we have these minutia questions.
Mhm.
I still, like I say, no problem. You're right where you need to be. I'm going to mark you wrong with the 20 just because we're trying to get a good mark for you, but it's
Yeah.
45 days.
Okay. So it's you said it's 25?
No, I said 45.
Oh, I was like, that's not an answer, Dean.
Maybe I said
Okay.
I meant 45. So the right answer would be, but that's good news. It's all up in your brain and housing group. That's the first thing. You stuff it up there. And then we got
Okay.
to work on delineating it. And what you gave me was a right answer to a different question. How long do you have to respond to FINRA's Department of Enforcement? Right. So
Okay.
a member's firm certification of compliance and supervisory processes must be
Um, I think that it's A.
right on. Right. There's a lot of things that are annual on the test. This is one, right? If you're the chief compliance officer, you know that at least once a year you're going to get to be able to speak truth to power.
Hmm.
It's time for me to, sit down with the CEO and say, here are the issues our firm has addressed and needs to continue to address. The other thing that's annual, we have to conduct an annual AML test, right? We have to review our blanket, our fidelity bond annually. And that fidelity bond is based on our net capital. We've got to review that annually. On our business continuity plan, we got to have two contact persons, and that too has to be reviewed annually. So there's a lot of these little annual kind of things that we got to do.
On my STC final, I think or one of the Kaplan, I can't remember. It asked me like if the net capital is 250,000, how much does the fidelity bond need to be?
Well, it would be 250.
It would be. Okay.
That's based on your net. I don't, on the real test, I always talk about the real test, is based on your net capital.
So it's like a dollar to dollar.
Yeah, but they're not going to get into a dollar amount. They're just going to say which of the following true is a fidelity bond. And it, what is it about? It's covering the customer against broker dealer, theft or whatever.
Mhm.
And, and then the second point is it's got to be reviewed annually and it's based on the firm's net capital. So the larger the net capital, the bigger the fidelity bond has to be. All test prep vendors give you like a schedule of that, and it's like, who cares? Members firm business continuity plan. When I say who cares, I mean for test purposes. Must provide for,
See all of these.
right on. Definitely going to get that. So, I mean, there's stuff that we just know is there. As I always say, I had a guy who he was being funny, and I kind of liked it. He was watching a lot of my videos, obviously. He said, Dean, no angels need to weep for me today. All those kind of aim and shoot, point and click questions that he was entitled to. The FINRA developed vehicle that facilitates the mandatory reporting of over-the-counter transactions and eligible fixed securities is.
Trace.
Yeah, lots of, I don't know how you're going to walk in and out of there without at least 2, 3 questions on Trace.
Okay.
To test you on that, right? And then we talked about dual side reporting, 15 minutes, immediate release. So very testable. A customer places an order to buy 1,000 shares of the FGD from a firm. The firm does not make a market, so it purchases the stock from a market maker currently at the inside market. It then sells the customer with a markup. This is an example of.
So I know there's a principal transaction because there's a markup.
That's right.
Let me see. So we can eliminate C and D.
I love the way you're attacking. That's exactly right.
Sorry, read the question one more time.
Yep. Take your time.
B.
Right on. The other follow-up question is you're going to be hard pressed to be charging somebody more than 5% in a riskless principal transaction,
Okay.
right? And so you say, hey, Dean, why did you put a third party into that trade? I mean, why didn't you just charge me a commission? I said, well, Nicole, my minimum commission on 1,000 shares was $100. So I just got it off the box, got it from the market maker, and I put a penny in there. So now you owe me, what, $10. Now, by the way, it doesn't have to be that I did it in your best interest, but that would help, right? Anytime you're justifying what you did, it would be helpful if what you did was in the customer's best interest. A registered rep wishes to lend money to a customer under which of the following circumstances would written notice to the broker dealer be required?
Okay. So a registered representative wants to lend money to a customer. Which of the following circumstances would written notice to the broker dealer be required? So the customer is the spouse, so no for that one.
All right, on.
The registered representative and the customer have been close friends since high school. That would require.
That's right.
Number three, the customer is his mother. No. He and the customer have a business relationship outside the firm. That necessitates occasional lending between them. So 2 and 4D.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That doesn't apply to immediate family members, and you nailed it. Right? You just took them right out of the mix. Under FINRA rules, the prevailing market price for markups on corporate bonds is.
The firm's contemporaneous cost.
Yeah, it depends on
E.
what the marketplace for the security is, but yeah, when we don't have like a NASDAQ kind of things, that's what we're going to use,
I
right?
feel like,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
oh, I'm sorry. I feel like I always just say the firm's contemporaneous cost and I get it right.
That's okay.
Okay.
Nobody's going to ask how you got it right, just as long as you get it right. I would say we should have been able to eliminate A because we don't have, well, I don't know. I wouldn't do it. And you should know last sale isn't there. Lowest offer on the inner deal market. Yeah. when under FINRA prevailing market price of bonds for is. You always get that right. Now, I don't want to again go backwards with you, but part of the Hippocratic Oath. But here's the point. If it is a thinly traded market and we don't have like an independent way to get the highest bid and lowest offer, or there's not activity, then FINRA will look at your contemporaneous cost in terms of your markup. Shares of common stock in a non-reporting company. So what does that mean? That means this is a company that isn't sending out 10Q and 10Ks to the SEC. That's what that means. It's not a public company. I would think here like SpaceX. SpaceX is a non-reporting company. And so SpaceX sold stock to a UK resident in a Reg S offering. Reg S is very testable. In these last 48 hours before you test, anything that is about international would be something to pay attention to. So we're selling this, the term for this is we're selling it offshore.
Mhm.
And the question here is about how soon can it come back onshore? How long is the seasoning period?
I think it's a 12 months.
You are correct.
Whew.
What if it said a reporting company?
6 months?
Excellent,
Okay.
excellent, excellent. Goldman was doing a Reg S offering. And the reason they did it is they thought they were going to be in trouble. They sold in the domestic market. So they went ahead and sold it overseas. So, yeah. A registered rep you supervise asks you about whether it would be permitted to open an account for a customer in the military and deployed only who has an Army post office box. The best answer would be.
This was working at USAA was very helpful in learning
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. I also think this would be helpful working at USAA for holding statements, right? Because I always use the example like Nicole, I'm in Syria at an outpost. How are you gonna, you know? Did you get
Yeah,
calls from military folks that were overseas checking on their finances and stuff?
all the time.
Oh, that's
All the
great.
time.
That's
Yeah. I'm like, what country are you in? They're like, well, I'm like, oh, okay, well, just let us know when you need something.
That's crazy. I love the commercials too that they run with like Gronk. No, you can't be in the USAA. Oh, I can because I have a family member.
So prestigious. And then when we used to only let officers in.
Oh, that was the starting, right? It was Air Force
Hmm.
officers, is my understanding, that pulled their resources to get some insurance as
Yeah,
a fraternal organization. Yeah, I love all fraternal kind of companies that start that way. You go, wow, that's crazy. And they got how many billions? So,
I know. I know. It's crazy.
and when we
And with,
talked about it too, if I were, one of the members of the fraternal organization and now we're selling to Schwab, I think Schwab is a fine firm, but it's different from being a nonprofit fraternal organization, right? So
for sure.
a Vanguard is still a nonprofit. So, you know,
Hmm.
I think the similarity between USAA and Vanguard is probably more similarities than USAA and Schwab.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So D would be the best answer. Oh, wait.
Absolutely.
Yes, D.
Correct. Yeah. We know the answer is going to be yes, right? We're we're not going to say, listen, you're in service to the Republic, our country, and we're not going to, let you conduct business. Absolutely not. Deposit fully paid for securities in a long margin account increases all the following except. Okay, well, we had this conversation, and I said, and it sounds like maybe some of the test prep vendors have had the same recommendation, particularly with your score thus far, Nicole. I would feel bad if you just decide to assign this to the universe and say, I'm just not going to spend too much time on this. But I think the best analogy for a margin account is a home. Market value of the home minus mortgage on the home equals equity on the home, right? So I think that's the way you can kind of sometimes drain the swamp a little bit in terms of what's happening. So the deposit of fully paid for securities into a long margin account increases all the following except.
The debit balance.
Perfect. That's exactly right. Well, you owe the brokerage firm hasn't moved. You still owe us X number of dollars. right? And I said, well, good. I mean, we got more equity in your account, Nicole. That's wonderful. You want to send in some more collateral? That's fantastic. He said, well, you never called it collateral before. And I said, well, I'm just trying to be clear with you, Nicole, that those securities are the collateral for the loan you have with us, right? The CEO must certify to have meeting with the CCO the preceding 12 months. That alone is testable. That's just a point blank test question. I like this rule. I'm dating myself as an OG, Nicole, but I go back before this rule was in place. And what would happen is firms would blow up, and then we'd find out the compliance officer is not a part of the senior management team and has been trying to get to the head of the firm to say, hey, we got a problem here. And so we passed this rule to say, okay, you're going to get to speak truth to power as a chief compliance officer. But nowadays, most firms, the chief compliance officer is considered a member of the senior management team and does get this face time. But this is to make sure they get the face time. A member firm's processes must be evidenced in a report that must be submitted to.
I would say the firm's board of directors and audit committee.
Right on, right on. I don't think D is much of a test question as this actual part here.
Okay.
That's just an aim and shoot point and click question. And, you have to get together. This is ridiculous, Nicole, but my firm, I was both the chief compliance officer and the CEO.
Hmm.
And they wanted this letter of attestation from the CCO to the CEO. And I said, well, that's just me. When do you want me to, have somebody else write this, like Michelle, who works for me as my other 24? And they said no. And I thought, well, you don't want to take a chance they have a sense of humor. But I was going to send in like the attestation saying I sleep with the compliance officer. I'm with them 24/7.
You're the same brain.
Yeah, same brain. We share a brain. Yeah, I like that. That would have been a better way to do it. All right, let's do that one. We share a brain.
Leave it
Member
to me to
firms
believe
are
it.
obligated to file a SAR, suspicious activity report. You are going to get tested on anti-money laundering. I gave you, I think, a test question already. We have to conduct an AML test annually. That's testable. We have to have an AML officer who's in charge of this. We have to have these in our policies and procedures, our WSPs. So how many days to file the suspicious activity report?
30.
Right on. What is the record retention on a SAR and a CTR?
5 years.
Right on. What is the dollar amount for a SAR?
I know CTR is, oh goodness. SAR, I think is 10,000.
CTR is the 10,
Okay.
the currency transaction report. And by the way, you give the customer a copy of the CTR. The SAR is 5,000. And you can't tell the customer, I'm not allowed to say, hey, your life's about to get exciting. And then I would know red flags for SAR. Red flags. Red flags would be transactions that are commercially illogical. Yeah, somebody's talking to me the other day. They go, what do you think? I said, I think it has something to do with money laundering. And the person said, why? I said, because this is commercially logical to me. Why somebody wants so many nickels? I mean, that makes no sense whatsoever. Right. So I mean, origin of funds. I mean, yeah, you really why are we doing business in Belize or Monaco or whatever? There are legitimate businesses being conducted in Belize and Monaco and the Caymans, but it's a red flag that this is not a regular bank account that is doing right. So commercially illogical. What else would be commercially illogical? Origin of funds, transactions. Oh, lack of economics, where the person just doesn't seem to care about the economics of a transaction. You're correct on the 30. Which of the following can be entered in the OTC pink market?
I think it's all of them.
Right on. That's the whole point of that. All the stuff you can't do on NASDAQ can be done certainly on the pinks. The Department of Enforcement has no authority. Oh, FINRA's not gonna like this question. They have no authority.
Okay, so they have no authority to suspend or bar a person. They do.
That's what they certainly do.
Okay. Okay, so they can suspend or bar a person. They can suspend or expel a member firm from membership in FINRA. They can.
Yep,
They can also censure a partner of a member firm.
right on.
So it's C.
Yeah, they're not a member, right? If you're not a member of FINRA, then they can't, do anything to you, right? Under the Code of Procedure, a respondent has 25 days to respond to a complaint from the Department of Enforcement. That 25 days is testable. And here they
Okay.
just gave it to you. So you say, hey, well, thank you very much. I mean, that could have been the test question is you have that 25 days. If the respondent does not answer within 25 days, the department will send a second notice requiring an answer within
Is it 10 days?
it's 14 days.
Okay, I really need to work on that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and remember, you're still not on pace to have any problem with the minutia. You're still not on pace, so, just, do it. Now, what happens if you don't respond in that 14 days?
And then you're guilty. You're found
Right? I'm
guilty.
perfect. It's perfect. FINRA, when I was a member, my firm, they told me the number one thing that people get in trouble for is not responding to the Department of Enforcement. I never, Nicole, quite understood that because, I try and be Johnny on the spot, responding to a regular, like, hey, what the hell do you want? And try and, be responsive. And anyways, but then I had a guy who's an attorney. So, well, Dean, you got to remember that the responses you make to FINRA might be evidence in a further problem you might have with like the SEC or criminal. And so sometimes it's better just to keep your mouth shut because a test question, FINRA Dean doesn't have a badge and a gun. They can do all these bad things to you, but they can't throw you in jail, right? I always joke if I get a call and they say Dean FINRA's on line one, the SEC is on line two, I'm picking up line two. The SEC is not a self-regulated organization. That's the government. Right? So that's a
Hmm.
different deal. A registered rep acting as an assistant branch manager is reliably notified that a general partner of M&N Company has passed away. The representative should ensure which of the following is done promptly with regard to M&N's trading accounts.
Freeze the account. So B.
Yeah, very testable about what happens. They love dead customer questions. So they do a lot of dead people on Monday, right? This person dies, that person dies. What happens?
Hmm.
If criminal activity is suspected with respect to missing securities, notification must be made to all the following except.
I don't think the FBI needs to know. Pr- So, oh wait, okay. So if they're missing, oh, criminal activity, it's
uh, Criminal activity.
FINRA.
Yeah. The big one
Okay.
is to know about SIC, right? The Security Information Center.
Hmm.
So if you expect criminal activity, you have to report this promptly. That means within one business day. And
Okay.
I had on debrief tell me people they didn't get the FBI. They said they got a choice that said proper law enforcement. I'm fine. So, if you're in Silicon Valley, maybe you're in Menlo Park, you call the Menlo Park PD. But yeah, you know. And then remember, if you find out that it wasn't, then you got to call everybody back and say, never mind. I've done that where well, who took my stuff? Oh, no, never mind. That's just me being stupid. Mr. Lee is an elderly investor who is researching the M&O utility company's exchange listed stock. M&O is classified as a WIXI. WIXI is very testable.
Mhm.
Mr. Lee's principal investment objective is income with some modest growth. Which of the following combinations of resources would most likely be useful to Mr. Lee?
D.
Yeah, right on. Right on. I don't like this particular question where it turned because the test question about being a WIXI is to know that their shelf registrations are good for,
3 years.
yep, and they're immediately effective. In other words, they don't have to do anything. They can just take down that shelf and do it. Customer purchases stock in a cash account. The next day, the price of the stock has risen. The customer sells the order before paying for the purchase. Which of the following statements is true? This is called a free ride. A free ride. You took a ride you didn't pay for. Use broker dealer money, not your money. And what do we do to free riders?
Let me see. Sorry, let me reread this. customer purchases stock in a cash account. The next day, the price of the stock has risen and the customer places a sell order before paying for the purchase. Which of the statements is true? The member can accept the order only if the customer instructs the member to hold the proceeds. Member must accept the order. Member may refuse the order. Member can accept the order. I think it's B.
You are correct. And then I say, Nicole, just for your own edification here, you bought 1,000 shares at 40, stock went to 50, and I'm going to sell it at 50. Now, I just want to explain something to you. If you ask me to send that $10,000 to you, test question, I am going to send it to you. But then you will have taken a free ride. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to freeze your account for
90 days.
that's right on. And what's frozen is not your trading privileges. What's frozen is your credit privileges. For the next 90 days, I want your money or securities up front. And you say,
Ah,
Christine, I have no intention of taking the free ride. I say, okay, well, I'll tell you what, as long as we get your $40,000, Nicole, before you get the broker dealer's 50,000, your account will not be frozen. And if I froze it temporarily, I'll unfreeze it. So the idea here is, does the customer get broker dealer money before we get the customer's money? We want to be able to prove that, if you went from 40 to 30, you still would have paid us. So again, free rides. The head margin clerk at Schwab, he's since retired, and this is years ago, so who knows if it's still true. But I forget how it came up. He was telling me that at Schwab, customers actually get 3 free rides before somebody reaches out to explain it to them. And I started laughing.
wow.
Laughing. I go, well, you certainly wouldn't want your customers to know that, because I go, okay, I got 3 of these, one more before they shut me down. A Rule 144 allows a member to contact which of the following potential buyers of Rule 144 stock. This is indeed testable.
It's 2 and 3. So
2
A.
and 3, you are correct. Now, what you're not supposed to do is make it sound like it's some special deal. Like, hey, Nicole, this is founder stock. This is a stock coming off restriction. This is stock in Tesla that used to be owned by Elon Musk. Who cares, right?
Mhm.
3, you are correct. A customer filed a written complaint with FINRA alleging churning in accounts. When investigating the complaint, FINRA will consider all the following except
C.
C, as in Charlie, the length of time. Yeah, you can churn with any length of time. I've seen some horror stories, and this was a broker. It was so obnoxious. He started with like 2 million. He made like 500,000 commissions, and he took her to zero in 6 months. I don't even think I could have done that if I tried. I mean, if you gave me $2 million, I think there would have been some winning trades in there somewhere. And the 500,000 to zero. I was just astounded how he could even do that. Even if it was intentional, how he would do that. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, it's really bad. And a wrap fee includes the cost of which of the following?
I know that it's investment management, so 2 is one of
Right on.
them.
Right on.
So let me just eliminate the ones that don't have 2. Okay, so it's either C or D. So trades executed and recruiting. I'm not even really sure what recruiting means. Like, I think it's, is
Ever,
it,
something you don't know what it means. So they're good at making up stuff that has nothing to do with anything. So just, leave it out. If you don't know what it is, don't put it into your answer. It's my recommendation.
so C.
Yeah, it's 1 and 2. And then remember, to sell the wrap account, your reps have to be registered as a 65, 66. And then we have to have a wrap brochure that explains what's included in the wrap and what's excluded from the wrap. In an active competitive market, the markup on a stock sold as principal to the customer is based on, this again is very much a test question.
Okay, let me just write out my bid and ask.
Please go for it. Yeah. This is very, I'm going to give you a couple versions of this question.
Okay, so the markup on a stock sold as principal is based on, because the market maker sells at the ask.
There you
But
go.
so it would be the inside offer.
Perfect. Perfect. It's based on the inside market, which is very testable, the highest bid, lowest ask or offer. You could get the same question. I'm just going to change it. In an active competitive market, the markdown on a stock is based on.
The markdown. So it would be the markdown sold on a stock as principal. Is that what the question
Yeah,
would say?
yeah, yeah. So you answered this one correctly. In an active competitive market, the markup. You
Hmm.
answered correctly. You said, Dean, it would be the lowest asking price, the lowest offer price, the inside offer. All that is synonymous, by the way. So that's part of the challenge is to know that the inside offer is the lowest ask. It's part of the, the inside quote, inside market. Right. And in other words, what I'm saying is you should know the inside offer is the lowest ask.
So I would think it's just based on your question that it's opposite the inside
That's
bid.
exactly right. That's exactly what I was getting at. Right. So it's always based on the inside market, which is the highest bid and the lowest ask. Right. And that again, I might ask you to do practical application. So for example, if I told you on the test that the lowest ask was 16, and then I tell you your firm sold it for 16.10, the markup would be 10 cents. Right. And if I told you the highest bid was 15, by the way, that would be a test question in and of itself, is that those two numbers are the inside market based on that, right? And then if I say you firm bought it in inventory at 14.80, that would be a 20-cent markup, right? So
Okay.
you're doing great, by the way. You answered correctly. So whatever exhibit you made, I've always suggested to people in 24 that they make their own little exhibit of the quote before they jump in, just to, kind of say, okay, where I'm at. With regard to margin accounts, members must deliver to non-institutional customers a disclosure document.
At or before the opening of the account.
Right on.
So D.
With regulation, what regulation requires, I like this is testable, that margin credit outside the US be in compliance with Federal Reserve rules.
I think it's Reg X.
Yeah, it is indeed Reg X. And, it surprises me, but a lot of firms engage in regulatory arbitrage. You can imagine, Nicole, how irritated I'm going to be as a Lehman Brothers customer to find out when Lehman Brothers filed bankruptcy that my securities are in the United Kingdom. I go, what the heck are my securities doing in the UK? And by the way, that means that SIPC may or may not cover me because,
Mhm.
and Lehman Brothers had set up a broker-dealer holding operation in the UK to avoid playing by the rules here. For example, in fiscal responsibility, Lehman Brothers had asked U.S. accounting firms and the U.S. legal law firms about doing a repo with their inventory. In other words, can I take my inventory off my balance sheet, do the focus report, and then put it back on the balance sheet? Repo, it's called a repo. And because if so, I got a hedge fund guy who will allow me to take the inventory and put it back, and we'll pay him a fee for doing so. And all their U.S. accounting firms and U.S. legal firms said, you can't do that. And then they found a UK law firm and a UK accounting firm that said this is okay.
Mm.
Okay, we'll just do it in the UK. It was called a Repo 105. And again, they're violating all the rules they were discussing about fiscal responsibility. And you just wonder where was the FinOp or something go, I remember on my 24, there was this thing called Reg X, where, we can't just go overseas to avoid complying with US regulatory framework. A call loan is characterized by.
Fluctuating interest.
Yeah,
A.
right. I'm not even sure why Kaplan has this as a practice question. Um, maybe what we're trying to get at in this question, I don't know, is that the broker call is the rate that banks charge brokerage firms for money. And
Okay.
that will be used to finance your margin account. And maybe that's what Kaplan's getting out of here is the customer should know that rate goes up and down.
Hmm.
I don't think it's a big deal on the 24, right? So, but yeah. Transactions in national market system stocks, as well as OTC securities, must be reported.
Within 10 seconds. So D.
Right on. That's very much a test question. If a registered rep wishes to form a limited partnership to market a new line of oil additives that intends to sell partnership units to friends and clients for compensation, which of the following statements is true?
So the representative must provide written notification. That's true.
Right on. Right
The
on.
representative must receive written permission. That's true
That's
too.
true too. Yep.
The representative must comply with the applicable rules of 1933. That's true. And 4 is true. So all of the above A.
Yes, you are correct. And if you don't comply with those rules, what is that called? A registered rep sells an investment not sponsored by his employing broker dealer without written notification, without written permission. You know what that's called? Very testable.
Selling away.
Perfect. That's exactly what that's called. And in most firms, that's a strike three offense. By the way, most firms have an approved product list. If it's not on the approved product list, you're not allowed to get people involved in that. A research report must include which of the following information?
If in the previous 12 months the firm received fees for investment banking services, I would say yes for that one.
Mhm.
Within the previous 12 months, the firm managed or co-managed a public offering for the subject company, I would say that one too.
Yep,
If in the previous 12 months the subject company was a client of the firm, I'm going to go with B, all of them.
you are correct. By the way, you should always have a default of like going with all giving all the information, right?
Yeah, I agree.
Which of the following is not a responsibility of the firm's anti-money laundering compliance officer?
We talked about this, how SARs are not
Yep,
notified to customers. So A.
exactly right. Yeah, that would be really bad. I mean, oh my God, what bank was it? TD Ameritrade, where they're paying now hundreds of millions of dollars in money laundering, anti-money laundering lack of control. And actually, they, from what I understand, I only know what I read, but the AML officers were actually in cahoots with the people trying to launder the money. That's like, oh my God, that's really bad. A mutual fund has exceeded a 5% interest in the voting stock of a public issuer of securities. This is testable.
Mhm.
Mutual funds are passive. You know, we don't expect that Fidelity's taking over a company or Vanguard. Under SEC rules, the fund must submit 13G. I would know that's 13G, and if you're an activist investor, that would be 13D, right? So 13D is an activist investor, and 13G is a passive investor. And we would assume that mutual funds are going to be passive, right? That they're not allowed to like do takeovers of companies and stuff.
So this was actually one thing that was on my Dean to-do list.
Right. Mhm.
I get really confused with the 13D, 13G, and then is it 13F?
Yeah, 13F. I like doing sessions like this because it reminds me how empathetic I should be for people like yourself, Nicole. Okay, so let's just go through this. If this said a activist investor, has exceeded a 5% interest, then it would be a 13D. It'd be the same requirement, right? So 13D, 13G. You got to tell everybody, by the way. Now, by the way, they just gave us this information, which is testable. You file it with the Market Center, NASDAQ or New York, and you file it with the SEC, right? Hey, everybody, look at me. It becomes public interest is the point. The answer to this is 45 calendar days. It's very testable. The answer to your 13F, Nicole,
Mhm.
still going to be filed 45 calendar days with each calendar year, but that's for institutional investors who manage 100 million or more. So, Nicole, for example, Berkshire Hathaway, everybody loves to see when they file their 13F, 45 calendar days at the end of the calendar quarter, each calendar year during which the position is held, right? For the 13F, it's going to be 45 days at the end of the quarter for the 13F, right? So 13F is all the positions held by an institutional investor with 100 million or more in discretionary assets. I just gave you the example of Berkshire Hathaway's 13F this time, Nicole. Very interesting reading. Mr. Buffett has sold a lot of his Apple stock. He sold a lot of his Bank of America stock, and he's now sitting on 300 billion in plus in cash. And so a lot of people like to say, well, boy, why isn't Mr. Buffett selling his stock? Am I giving a strategic pause? There's other legendary investors, right? By the way, Mr. Buffett used to get permission not to file the 13F in a timely fashion because people piggyback on his trades, shadow his trades. And then
Mm.
other people have to file 13F says, whoa, wait. Well, Vanguard, for example, I would imagine that Vanguard files lots of 13Gs just because the very nature of your index funds are so large that it wouldn't surprise me to weight it properly that Vanguard owns more than 5% of the target company stock, right? But by the way, to begin, Vanguard is not an activist investor. We don't expect that Vanguard's going to start tendering for, to kick the board out or do that kind of thing.
So the way that I've been thinking about this, like how I've come to make like to put it together, is I always think 13D is like an individual for the D in
Yeah,
individual.
okay. It doesn't have to be, but yeah, that'll work. Yeah. It's not so much it's individual. It's just that it's here's what again Elon has had many run-ins with the SEC, and he is probably very happy that President Trump has won, and Gary Gensler looks like he's our SEC chairman is on his way out. But one of the things he got in trouble for is when he started buying Twitter stock, he originally filed a 13G. Remember when this means he doesn't plan on taking over Twitter. He doesn't plan on, taking a board seat or doing any of that stuff. And then he crossed the 5%. And then all of a sudden he's saying, I want to buy out Twitter 54.20. And then people said, well, wait a minute, Elon, that's not a 13G. That's a 13D. You've already got in trouble previously with the SEC for not filing the 8K about material current events. I mean, he's had a running kind of battle with the SEC about doing his own thing. Um, anyways, it'll be interesting to see what happens. He's signed a consent decree with the SEC for, not reporting these things. And it'd be interesting if President Trump's just going to pardon him and all that and say, you know, don't worry about the SEC, Elon. What he's calling himself, the first buddy. I guess there's some advantages to that. So I like your D thing. But I would just twist that to say I don't think it's going to cause you any problems on Monday, either version. But the D is more activist. The G is passive. And the 13F is for institutional investors that they file quarterly, not yearly, quarterly. Right.
Okay,
And it's going to be quarterly, and it's going to be for 100 million or more in discretionary assets. Right. So
perfect. That helps. Thank you.
under FINRA Rule 5150, a fairness opinions are testable.
Okay, so we've got an accept question. If compensation will be received is contingent on the successful completion of the transaction, that would need to be disclosed.
Mhm.
Any material relationships that existed during the past 5 years, I don't think it's five, but I'm going to put a question mark next to that one.
You think it is?
I don't think it's five.
It's
I think
not.
it's like three,
It's two.
two. Okay.
Yeah, good job though. I like it. You should pat yourself on the back because that's the kind of stuff that's tough. Most people would have said, "Oh, I don't know what is it 5," and you were at least this is getting you the right answer. I'm going to give you this right because you said I don't think it's 5, and you were right. And you got to trust your gut on Monday on that kind of thing because
Okay.
you have put in the work. So it's 2 years, right? So you were absolutely right. Now, by the way, the more testable thing, if you're going to review this thing, your timeline we set is kind of, your time is precious, so to speak. But I always wish I could get to more test takers and say, don't worry about the accepts. Because, you want to be able to know what's truthful.
Hmm.
Right? And so this is another where I might make a poor man's flashcard. Or if I wanted to, I might actually fix this and get rid of the 5 and put in the right answer, which is 2. Right. And then I can have
Ah,
4 things that are actually true about a fairness opinion. Right.
okay.
Good job. Good job on that one. Each of the following expressions is applicable to regulation A, except.
Okay, so we're doing accept. 12-month period is applicable.
That's right.
80% of the issuer's assets located in the state of incorporation. That's 147.
Good job. Excellent. So, that's what's so good about the work you put in, because this is just like the previous question. You knew it was not 5. And you knew B doesn't go to this, that it goes to a Rule 147. And so today we can talk about it because we're riffing. But on Monday, I would just want you to squeeze the trigger quickly so you can save your brain cells. Because
Okay.
if you get to like question 160, you could be mentally tired.
Yeah.
So boom. Access equals delivery, yes. Form 8A, yes. So you were correct. 80% goes to Rule 147. I have another question for you. Under Regulation A, how much money can we raise?
So for tier 2, 75, tier 1, 20.
Perfect. Is this a public or a private offering of securities?
Private,
It's public. We can sell this
pub.
to 6 packs.
Okay.
That would be the distinction between tier 1 and tier 2. Tier
Okay.
1, I can sell to anybody. There's not any kind of a requirement. And once I go into tier 2, then there becomes qualification standards. Like, you can't put more than 10% of your net worth into the Reg A, that kind of thing. And then the Reg A, if we go to tier 2, is going to have audited financial statements. All right, let's do the Rule 147. So you were right about the 80% assets for Rule 147. Who can we sell a Rule 147 to?
So we can only sell it to someone who lives in that state.
Perfect. That's exactly right. Can a resident of that state resell it to someone else?
Only to another resident of that state.
For how long?
6 months.
There you go. Then you could sell it to somebody else, right?
Hmm.
We still have to register the Rule 147 with the state administrator. So,
Yes.
yeah, right on. Good job. Excellent, excellent, excellent. Which of the following categories of a registration permits a representative of a member firm to solicit sales in closed-end funds trading over the counter?
Series 7, so C.
Yeah, right on. I don't even know what Kaplan thought that was worth asking. Here is worth asking here because at some firms, you as a 24, Nicole, in your distribution network may have Series 6s and 7s. And Series 6s can only sell mutual funds with an application, whereas the 7s are masters of disaster, right? They can, sell pretty much anything except commodities. Which of the following open orders would be reduced on the ex-dividend date for a cash dividend?
This one I'm not even going to look. I think it's buy limit and sell stops.
Certainly as bliss, right? 1 and 4. And the customer, if he wants, could tell us DNR, do not reduce. Right? If the customer doesn't want us to do this, he can simply say, do not reduce. Your firm must provide FINRA an update in any change of an emergency contact within how many days? So we said that in our business continuity plan, we got to have 2 contact persons. They should be principals of the firm. We certainly don't want to be calling some baby broker about what's going on.
Hmm.
And so now we're going to change these. And so when do we have to notify FINRA that we've now have a different emergency contact person?
I'm guessing it's 1 business day.
It's actually 30, and that's welcome to this kind of minutia. I don't think that's really going to be a big deal on Monday. I doubt you'll see that. What I think you will see, the answer is 30 days. It's got to be 2 persons, right? And those 2 persons have to be principals of the firm. And then the second test question is we have to review it annually just to make sure it's correct, right? So maybe we forget that it falls through the cracks. That's when we should do it. I always tell the story amazing in one of my videos. I used to work graveyard security through college. and, for a huge mall, and I would have, something happen at 2 in the morning, and I would call the person on their emergency contact person for this store in the mall, and they'd be ballistic with me, saying they haven't worked there in like 5 years, and what am I doing waking them up? I'm like, I'm sorry, that's who, you're listed, and I was telling the head of security of the mall, we should, uh, tell these people who are leasing these outlets that they got to tell us, for the graveyard guy like me, that these are the proper contact people, right? So, a member firm wishes to send confirmations to customers via email. It must do all the following except.
Follow up each electronic confirmation with confirmation in paper form. So D.
Yeah, right on. That would be hope defeat the whole purpose of trying to save trees, right? To register as a non-NASDAQ market maker, this is testable. Form 211 must be filed how many days prior to the quotation?
3A.
Right on. So, Nicole, in this time together, I have been commenting on the minutia that is not, in my estimation, high probability as minutia you're going to get tested on, and high probability minutia that you will be tested on. Right. So they love to ask about this Form 211. And remember, there's two ways to avoid it: piggybacking. And then the other way to avoid it, filing the form, is you were their NASDAQ market maker. Right.
Okay, so they've got 3 days
That's right.
to
File the form
file with FINRA,
11. That's right.
and they can avoid it by piggybacking.
Piggybacking means you're using somebody else's quote, a continuous quote, or you were their NASDAQ market maker.
So this is all over the counter, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Keyword there is non-NASDAQ market maker. That means
Hmm.
OTC Pink. And then the other hint here is Form 211. There is
Okay.
no Form 211 for NASDAQ or, if securities delivered in an inter-dealer trade are refused by the transfer agent, the time of reclamation is. So reclamation is when, after you've accepted delivery of a security, we then discovered it was not in the proper deliverable form. I always joke, good delivery is not about getting a pizza in 30 minutes or less. It's about making sure the securities are in the proper deliverable form.
Mm, this one's going to be a guess, but 90 days?
Yeah, it's actually 30 months. I wouldn't worry about it at all.
Okay.
Wouldn't worry at all. I would just know, I would know the difference between reclamation under the Uniform Practice Code and rejection. So rejection is when I refuse to settle a trade for a valid reason. So you're the selling broker dealer, I'm the buying broker dealer. I see, Nicole, I'm refusing to settle because this is bad delivery. These signatures aren't technically correct. It's not makeable and breakable. You didn't provide me with a letter of authentication, validation, whatever the case may be. That's rejection. Reclamation is after we've accepted delivery. Now I discover a problem. Right? So,
Okay.
Uniform Practice Code. A member firm terminates its independent accounting firm. The SEC and SRO must be notified. Accountants are protected species. You want to make sure you're not getting rid of your accountant because he told you something you didn't want to hear.
Pretty sure it's immediately.
It's actually within 15 business days of the termination.
Rats. Okay.
That's okay. Like I said, these are the ones, I wouldn't worry about. But the point here is that, we're also going to need a letter from the old guy and the new guy saying everything's hunky dory. I didn't terminate my independent accounting firm, but I can't, I had a dispute with my accounting firm in FINRA, and here was the dispute. I said to FINRA and to my accounting firm, I don't think I should have to count what I owe my reps as part of aggregate indebtedness.
Hmm.
Because, I make it very clear to my reps, if they earn a commission and I don't get paid, they don't get paid. So, I don't think I should have to do that. FINRA said, Dean, what you owe your brokers is a part of aggregate indebtedness, regardless of what the other side of that trade is. And then my accounting firm said, that's it. Now, again, if I was like Lehman Brothers, maybe, Nicole, I would have shopped around and found an accountant that told me, you're right, Dean. That's how we're going to do it. And then I would have to have a letter saying any disputes I've had, with my previous guy and the new guy, so they could say everything's hunky-dory. Financial statements audited by a peekaboo. We call these peekaboo firms, Public Company Accounting Oversight Board. Now, these are, accounting firms that could, audit Microsoft. Must be filed with broker dealers, and we're required to use them, which kind of sucks because they're really expensive. You're not. By the way, it was a red flag that Bernie Madoff is using some accountant in a strip mall. I mean, there's probably legitimate accountants in strip malls, but it's not going to be somebody who should be doing the accounting of a broker dealer or signing off, and more importantly, on the accounting of a broker dealer. So here, within how many days of year end?
I'm guessing, but maybe 30.
Yeah, these are the tough ones. It's 60.
Okay.
You're missing some of these, Nicole. You said on your list, this is something you want to work on. Again, I don't think this is high probability. I do not. It's actually 60. And I've been
Okay.
commenting on the things that are high probability, like 25 days, the 30 days, that kind of thing. So don't beat yourself up. You got to give yourself, some grace here between now and Monday. A registered person is subject to the regulatory element of continuing education.
Annually, so B.
Right on. Right on. Under FINRA rules, principal transaction markups are determined by all of the following except,
B, like boy.
Yeah, the cost, yeah, sometimes you can get these with reduction to the ridiculous. What does the world look like if I get to base my markup on what I've actually paid for the security? That means I could be marking up securities that are trading in the market for, less than I originally paid and still get my money back. So absolutely not. The other one they like, a version of this same wrong answer, is that broker dealers are entitled to profits. No, records relating to terminated reps must be kept for how long?
Okay, so I always get this one mixed up with 3 and 6, but I'm pretty sure it's 3.
It's actually the vast majority of brokerage firm records are 3, including this one. There's very few records that are 6, very few. So the few records that are 6 are blotters, the stocks we bought and sold each day, general ledger. If I think you're cooking your books, I mean, you could fake a general ledger, but it's a little harder to do. A general ledger, the stock record, that's the stock that came in and out of the firm, and then customer statements. And I think it makes sense that customer ledgers or statements are 6 because the statute of limitations for broker dealers is 6. Right. So the vast majority are 3. So between now and Monday, it's very easy to know 6-year records. There's not many of them. It's very easy to know lifetime records. There's not very many of them.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just know everything else is 3 except FINRA customer complaints, which is
4.
right on, right on. And then MSRB rules would be customer complaints are 6. So
Okay.
4, MSRB 6. And then 5, remember, is record retention for anti-money laundering records. The SAR, the CTR, those are 5-year records. And then remember, any record, we have a 2-year ready access rule.
Okay, so did I get this one right or wrong?
You said 3, you got it right.
Okay,
Vast
perfect.
majority brokerage firm records are 3, including this.
I just get confused because I watched Brian's videos and he says for 6 years it's BLJs, blotters, ledgers, journals,
Yeah,
and then I add in customer statements. I think sometimes I just get confused because depending on how they word what.
yeah, you're going to be fine. As we said, there is no red
Okay.
flag whatsoever in your performance. And so thus far, we're on question 60. I don't see any red flags. So, I mean,
Oh,
and again, that doesn't mean that you can't fine tune tomorrow. You don't want to wear yourself out tomorrow because you want to be, I don't know about you, but when I'm tired, my reading skills are greatly diminished. There's no red
hmm.
flags. But if you want to go through some of these little things, firm them up a little bit, that's great. But like I said, I don't think there's anything that I've said, oh my goodness, this person is at risk. The
Okay.
corporate financing department will not attempt to evaluate which of the following.
the fairness and reasonableness of the public offering price. I know that's one of them.
right?
And then the merits of the securities being underwritten. So,
That's right. So 2 and 4, right?
mhm.
Who files with the Committee on Corporate Finance? Who of our syndicate members are responsible for filing?
The lead underwriter.
Always the manager, yeah. Manager, lead
Okay.
underwriters, anonymous terms. Member firms are prohibited from joining in non-members, which of the following domestic underwritings, this is very testable. You know, who we can give concessions, discounts, and allowances to, and who we cannot give concessions, discount allowances. Here it says, who can we do this?
Okay, so member firms are prohibited from joining with non-members.
Non-members, and which of the following? So two, basically 2 of these things we can give a concession, discount allowance to a non-member, and 2 of these things we can't.
So I feel like the muni bond is going to be one that we can't.
We can.
We can.
Banks, yeah,
Okay.
banks do not have to join FINRA to underwrite municipal bonds. So we as a broker dealer can engage in a municipal underwriting and pay the bank. FINRA says, Dean, did you give a concession, discount, or allowance to a non-member? I say yes. It was a bank and we were selling munis. So 4, we can. 3,
I
we
see.
3, we can. 3, again, it's a treasury bond, treasury bill, it's a bank. So 3 and 4, we can. Corporate securities, we cannot. So 1 and 2 would require you to be a member for me to pay you. I can't tell you how many people set up broker dealers because they want to be paid to do this, and you can't get paid unless you're a what?
Member firm.
Yeah, this guy's a legendary guy, and he left Goldman Sachs. He's one of the youngest partners ever, and he set up a private equity firm, and he was the head banker at Goldman for financial institutions, banks and people like that. And even though he went into private equity, these people kept calling him, issuers and people wanting him to get involved in what he used to do at Goldman, which is underwriting and being a financial advisor to these prospective issuers. And they were always calling him, and he said, "Okay, fine. I'll get back involved in that way." Now, for him to get back involved in that way, he had to set up a broker dealer. It's not a big deal. I mean, he's got lots of resources, but the whole point of setting up the broker dealer is so that he can then say, okay, you got to pay me. They can't pay like a private equity fund to act as their underwriter, right? So all kinds
Mhm.
of people, Nicole, are taking 24s like yourself because they're setting up broker dealers. And a lot of times when I ask somebody why they're setting up a broker dealer, a lot of times it's they're leaving their broker dealer, starting their own. But another reason I get a lot is because they want to be paid. My firm was called Gamma Global, and I set up Gamma Global so private equity firms could pay me. They can't pay me
Mm.
as, hey, I'm Dean Tenney, write me a check. And I go, Dean, we can't give concessions, discounts, or allowances to non-members. And
I see.
I said, well, hey, fine, I'll just set up a broker deal and you can pay me, right? By the way, people get in trouble all the time for trying to get broker dealers to pay them for broker dealer stuff, and they're not broker dealers, which used to aggravate the hell out of me because it costs a lot of money to set up a broker dealer. You
I'm
know?
sure it does.
And then they got these people running around. I'm just tutoring another guy in 24, and that's exactly, Nicole, what's going on. Wants to get paid, and he's been doing things that are on the peripheral, and looking at what broker dealers making goes, that's what I need to be. A
Oof.
research analyst wants to meet with investment banking personnel to discuss a report the analyst is finalizing prior to release. Such a meeting is,
D. D like Delta.
yeah, we do test on this idea of separation between research and banking, and we test on this idea that we shouldn't give editorial control to bankers or issuers for that matter. All my statements regarding customer confirmations are true, except
C. C.
C,
Charlie.
the confirmation must whether the broker dealer is a market maker and the security sold. That is not true. That's true. This is the first time I've said this to you. This is a bad miss. That's called capacity, right? We always disclose that. The thing
Okay,
that is
because
not true is B, It has to be to you by settlement.
Oh, okay. I see my miss there.
Yeah, not a bad miss, but bad miss because we should know that's called capacity, right? So principal or agent, or we have inventory in the recommended security or the security itself. So very, very testable.
Because I remember in the
Yeah, not the
65.
accept. The true part is that remember on these true ones, it's by completion of the transaction, not the business day after. Right. So not a bad, like I said, that's there. An issuer listed on NASDAQ is in registration for a follow-on additional issue. Before the effective date, they reach an agreement in principle to acquire a manufacturing company. The issuer must take all the following actions except.
Okay, an issuer listed on NASDAQ is in registration for an additional issue offering. Before the effective date, the issue reaches an agreement in principle to acquire a manufacturing company. The issuer must take all of the following actions except. I feel like it's B.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we don't have to tell the existing shareholders. They expect we're conducting business, right? Those other things need to take place. And again, that's what's challenging on the 24. A lot of these accept questions, right? And it's not so
Mhm.
much you're taking away the accept, is that you know that it's A, C, and D. On March 15th, oh my God. Now, questions that are this big sometimes, particularly when you have a margin of safety like you do, I might give myself permission to guess being a sign of the universe, but. On March 15th, a registered rep sells 1,000 shares of M&O for a customer at $30 per share, the current market price, with instructions to send the proceeds once the trade is cleared. On March 16th, the board of directors declares a 3-for-2 split payable April 10th to shareholders as of record March 29th. The customer receives a check for $20,000 and complains about the shortfall. And reviewing the customer's claim, the most likely finding would be that the customer.
So I know that this one B. Okay, I'm just gonna talk through this one.
Yeah.
So the registered representative sold the shares on March 15th,
Mm-hmm.
and on March 16th, dividend or the stock split was declared for shareholders on record of March 29th. So this person is not entitled to the stock split.
That's right. So, but he sold, so that was sold 1,000 shares at 30, right? So if you sold 1,000 shares at 30,
It's 30,000.
that's right.
This
So
is a legitimate complaint.
there you go. Right. So all that other gobbledygook is just to get you going down some road you don't need to go. Right. You got 1,000 shares at 30. There's
Hmm.
the April 10th shareholders record March 29th. So that tells us this has nothing to do with the scenario
Right.
because he's long gone by then.
Hmm.
Right. So come on, baby. What's up?
It's like, I know you're off grid in Arizona.
I got the Starlink. I'm just thinking if I switch over, I'm just afraid if I switch over to my other one. Let me just see what that one looks like.
So where were you in the Marines? Where were you based?
I was most of my time was at Camp Pendleton
Okay.
outside San Diego, then traveled around, but most of my service was now we had El Toro and now El Toro's gone. We have lots of Marine bases that used to sit on very valuable real estate, including Camp Pendleton. It's like 50,000
Yeah.
on the beach. I don't know what's going on. Uh-oh.
We were in Hawaii and Japan.
Hawaii
Like,
and Japan. Wow.
yeah. Or
There's
in
a Marine
Louisiana.
base. Were you with your spouse or yourself in the Marines or what?
It was my dad.
Oh, your dad, because Okinawa is a huge Marine base.
Yeah.
Marine?
He was a Marine, yes.
Number five, right? And then where else were you? Japan and where else?
Japan and then Louisiana.
Louisiana. Do we have a Marine Corps camp in Louisiana? I wasn't didn't know we did.
When we were there, I was so little. So I know he was in when we were in Louisiana. I was
Uh,
just really little.
what's going on? I don't know if this is Kaplan or if it's something with Dean's. I don't think it's me. It's showing that I'm okay. So I don't know why it was following up on us. I'll tell you what, why don't we take a little break and
Okay.
15 minutes. Let's hit pause on your recording so you don't have a 15-minute blank spot. And then let's remind ourselves when we get back here to go ahead and hit the record button. Following statement. Which of the following statements regarding a discretionary account is not true? Not true.
I think it's D, like Delta.
Securities, yeah, that's correct. That is not true. We can hypothecate and rehypothecate securities. That's a whole separate issue, right on. Reverse convertible bonds. I love these things. When these first came out, and Prim was upset about it. I go, isn't that like a put provision for the issue? They go, yeah. I go, so why are we calling it reverse convertibles? That sounds like it's intentionally designed to not let the customer understand what happens here. So reverse
Hmm.
convertible bonds are debt instruments with embedded put options that allow the bond issuer the right to convert the bond principal into the shares. So you don't decide, they decide. That sucks. The issuer to exercise the option of shares underlying the option fell below a set price. If this occurred,
Okay, sorry, let me just reread it. Reverse
yeah,
convertible bonds are debt instruments embedded. Okay, if this occurred, the bondholders would receive the shares rather than the principal. So B.
right on. Yeah, and they're going to do that if there's, we got a problem.
Hmm.
A branch office manager is asked by a registered rep for a waiver from the firm element training due to education prior experience. Which of the following statements is most correct regard to acceptable relief from the firm element requirement?
D, like Delta.
Yeah, it applies to everybody. This does get tested. Like, well, I'm the CEO, get me out of it. I say, well, it doesn't matter, you're CEO. Which of the following terms best describes ETNs and leveraged ETFs?
Okay, so that's an exchange traded note.
Right on.
Let's see. Oh, this one gets me between alternative and speculative.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
because as a 24, you probably think that.
I would say it's speculative. Or no, goodness. I'm gonna say alternative.
Yeah, you got it right. That's right. It's a trading vehicle for sure. That wouldn't be a bad miss. I'm generally with you that this would be heightened supervision. I don't know if this is true, but Vanguard does sometimes take some heat for protecting customers from alternative products.
Yeah.
They basically say, "Hey, we don't allow you to do that at Vanguard. You'll
Mhm.
thank us later." I'm joking.
Yes.
The SEC defines a research report as a client communication that analyzes individual securities distributed to at least how many persons?
Whoa, I don't remember this one. A research report. I would say 25.
Yeah,
Or wait,
what you said, but it's not one of these minutia ones. This is regulation AC, and it's 15.
okay.
You're 25. Remember, more than 25 would be retail communication. So I don't think that was a bad
Mhm.
miss.
Okay. I just like
Or
this one. I'm like,
25
whoa.
would be correspondence. So not a bad miss whatsoever. A registered rep, someone encouraged a customer, it's weird phraseology, oh, that sounds like a rep I didn't really encourage them, someone encouraged them.
Hmm.
Below dollar amount, very testable. This is called,
Breakpoint sale.
yeah, we already talked about front running. Do you know what interpositioning is?
I know interpositioning is allowed if it like
Oh,
gets the
Nick, you're so
customer.
good. You are so good. It's a third party and it's allowed if there's a superior execution of the results. Excellent. We talked about selling away. What's front running?
Front running is like if you have a block order and you put in your order before that block
Right
order.
on, right on, nailed it. I love that answer set, by the way. That's just a beautiful answer set for the death. A company chooses to offer common stock to investors who each reside within the same state. It applies the SEC and after 10 days commences the sale of its securities. It inadvertently sells to a single accredited investor from another state. The effect of this would be
It would cause the company to lose its exempt status, so D.
right on. Which of the line investors meets the definition of a pattern day trader?
C.
Right on. Then remember what their minimum equity becomes?
25,000?
Excellent. Excellent. So you do know a lot of the minutia, my friend. So, we,
Yay.
yeah. So, I mean, the little minutia you don't know, I don't think it's going to be as important as the minutia you do know. An
Okay.
elderly customer of a member firm, Mr. Scott, contacts his representative to tell her that his son has been forcibly insisting on power of attorney over the account because of his age. Mr. Scott concedes or confides that this is important to him to maintain peace within the family. Which of them would be best step for a rep to take?
C.
Right on. Right. And then remember in our written supervisory procedures, we have to have something about preventing the exploitation of seniors. Most of us, very testable, would strongly suggest a trusted contact person that would
Hmm.
allow us to put temporary holds on that and checks. To terminate 12B1 plan charges, a registered open-end mutual fund must obtain.
I would say the majority vote of the board of directors.
That's right. And what is the maximum 12B1 fee? By the way, you got two here. Do you want the majority vote of the outside directors or majority vote of the board of directors?
Board of directors.
It's actually, we got to have both. The outside is the better question. These are people not directly affiliated with the fund itself, right? So the outside board are people who don't work for the fund distributor or the fund itself. At least 40% of them have to be disinterested. So this answer is better than that answer.
So B is correct, not D.
That's correct. And I don't think you'll
Oh,
see to terminate. You're going to see to implement. And to implement, you need a majority vote of the shares, majority vote of the board, and majority vote of the outside board. What is the maximum 12B1 fee that a no load fund could charge?
is it? It makes me give it 8.5, but I know that's the sales charge.
That's the sales charge. It's going to be 0.25 if you still want to refer to yourself as a no load fund.
Okay.
So you can go up to 1/4 of 1%. And then if you want to go past that, you can. But then that would be 3/4 of 1% over the life. So
Okay.
0.25 or 0.75. Rule 145 applies to all the following except
B, like
B,
boy.
registered securities. There you go. Boom. During a routine review of customer accounts, you notice one of the firms is liquidating their holdings in Acme Blue Chip Growth Fund and the Acme Capital Fund for Growth. The entire proceeds were invested in 3 different growth funds distributed by Beta Group. Your greatest concern would be,
Switching, D.
yeah, switching is when you're trying to generate commissions by going from one fund family to another fund family, right? The term offering at the market refers to a distribution in which the price to the public on the offering date is set.
For some reason, I'm thinking twice per day, but I think it's once per day.
Yeah, it's going to be when we're offering at the market. This is kind of a relatively new thing that companies are doing, where we're actually pricing it based on where it's trading in the market. And so you are answering, what's your answer on this one?
Once per day?
Yeah, I think that's going to be correct, right? Once per business day. What
Okay.
were you thinking twice of?
I don't know, but then as I like said it out loud, I'm like, that just doesn't sound right.
Well, and again, if you don't have an answer available to you, then you got to go uh, to that. So
Right.
I don't think once during the day is going to be appropriate because it depends on the volatility of the stock. I think A is a better answer than B.
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking too. I'm I'm not
I think it's,
sure.
we'll find out. We'll find out. I think it's going to be more than once because what I'd like to be able to do is if the market's like, 53, now it's like 56, I'd rather be able to do that, right? Well, we're
Hmm.
wrong on that one. I think it's going to be wrong. We'll see. If no execution is specified at time of order, NASDAQ book will assume, this is very much a test question, our normal assumption about how we sort the line out.
Price over time.
Right on, very testable, right? If you want to go to the front of the line, I wish other businesses were like ours. You want to go to the front of the line, you offer a better price. A better price. If I show up with a higher bid or a lower ask, boom, I'm at the front of the line. And now there's a tie based on the price, then it'll be the next tiebreaker will be who got there first. Who got there first? A member firm becomes aware of an impending sale of EFGD stock in a Rule 144 transaction. In order to purchase the stock as a principal, the firm registers as a market maker. Under SEC rules, this action is.
Prohibited.
Yeah, I mean, why? Why are you doing that? I mean, it sounds weird, right? I mean,
Yeah, it sounds a little suspect.
kind of the rule of the regulatory framework. Supervising officer partner must inspect each OSJ, very much a test question.
Annually.
Right on. A person must file a statement with the SEC if which of the following occurs.
Okay. I might just have to read these. When
No,
an
take your time. We have the giant reading test. I mean, I always joke the 24 is a giant reading test for sure.
when an unaffiliated entity acquires more than 5% equity in a reporting company, when a person obtains more than 5% interest in the equity securities of an issuer with no view or purpose of effecting a change to influence the control of a public reporting company, when a registered investment company registers 5% equity. I'm going to say B, all of the above.
You are correct.
Okay. Because it's where I get confused is there's like 5% and 10%.
Oh,
And I
good
get,
question. So 10 is when you become a principal stockholder subject to Rule 144. So 5
okay.
is when I tell everybody, hey, look at me. 10 is when, I think a good example of this was when Warren Buffett was asked about increasing his position in Wells Fargo.
Hmm.
He said, I will not sell you Wells Fargo unless. He said, right now I'm below 10. And Wells Fargo is buying back their securities, pushing up my proportionate ownership. And I don't want to be a principal stockholder subject to volume limitations in 144. This is not a ringing endorsement, by the way. So he said, I will sell whatever I need to stay under 10. And I thought, oh, okay. So that means he wants to be able to call his broker and dump the stock. It's still a matter of public interest. Now, Bank of America. I just told you recently he sold enough Bank of America stock to put Berkshire Hathaway below 10. And that now means he's not subject to the volume limitations. So, I was reading a story about a guy who's had a hedge fund called Velocity Capital, and he has one of the vignettes in the company. And he said he stopped at 4.9 because he didn't want people to know he had the position because he was afraid it might not work out and there'd be egg on his face and he'd be embarrassed. So, he was sitting at 4.9, kept going down. He goes, gee, in this vignette, I'm not sure if I don't know something or he said, okay, what the heck? And he went past 5. Now he has to tell everybody, he had to file test question. Is he going to file 13D? He's a hedge fund, or he's going to file 13G.
So 13D is going to be more of an activist.
That's right. Yeah, he's an active
So
guy.
probably 13D.
That's right on. And then it was funny. The company then called him. Now they know, right? Because you got to tell the issuer and, then you got to tell the SEC and the market center. And so then the company reached out to him and goes, hey, it looks like you're the only one who understands our business. We've been trying to tell people, that this is, we don't know why people don't love us. And they offered him what was called a pipe. And
Mm-hmm.
they reached out to him and said, hey, we need some financing and you seem like a likely guy to provide it. And he said, okay, I'm going all in. And he went past 10. So now he kind of stuck in the position, right? He really can't dump all that. He's got a subject to it all worked out, but I thought it was kind of a fun story about crossing all those deciding that where he's going to cross those bridges, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
anyways, yeah. So your point, The 10 is when you become a insider, right? The
Okay.
definition of insider control person is an officer, a director, a principal stockholder. If you're an officer, director, principal stockholder, you're a control person subject to volume limitations. By the way, it applies to immediate family members. So Nicole, I always think of Larry Ellison at Oracle. He owns 44% of Oracle stock. He's an officer, he's a director, he's a principal stockholder. He's not going to be allowed to dump 2 billion shares of Oracle. He's going to have to, come file Form 144. By the way, he's made it very clear to everybody, he's never selling any shares of Oracle. He says, I'm never selling any of them. He says, by the way, he's had 2 billion for a long time, but 2 billion used to represent 20% of Oracle. He still has 2 billion, but now it represents 44% of Oracle because they've been buying back the stock.
Hmm.
By the way, he has two siblings, or not siblings, kids. He has Meg Ellison, and has a studio in Hollywood, got Annapurna Pictures. And he has another son, David Ellison, who has a studio called Skydance. Do the Rule 144 rules apply to them and the disposition of Oracle shares? Absolutely. Right? I would imagine
Even if they're non-dependent children?
they're under non-dependent, they're immediate family members.
Okay, that
Right?
makes sense.
And again, Dad would be mad if they sold the Oracle stock anyways, right? So for each customer account, the firm must maintain a customer account record that includes which of the following?
Customer accounts. A firm must maintain account record that includes, okay. It's all of the above.
Right on. You're pretty good at these all of the above. A resident of a state who acquires stock pursuant to Rule 147 is prohibited from selling that stock to a non-resident for how many months?
6 months.
Correct. Each of the following statements regarding a pattern day trader is correct, except.
The minimum equity requirement is 30,000. It's 25.
Right on. Right on. And then remember, the key is those other things are the test points, not the untruthful stuff. Trace report will display all the following information except.
I feel like it's whether because both sides report,
That's right.
but does that need to be on there?
You're thinking like a 24 test taker.
Oh, good. Because where I'm
And
down
you're
to
reading
two,
correctly, by the way. So you're saying, is there a distinction between both parties reporting and whether or not we're going to display the reporting parties through trace?
right? I feel like it's probably D like Delta.
We do report if it's late. It's the name of the dealers. That's not going to be
Okay.
so you were on the right track, right? It's the dealers report, but then that's not going to be displayed.
Okay.
Under Reg FD, if an officer of an issuer makes an unintentional disclosure, this is very much a test question. There's FD says no selective disclosures. So you accidentally made a selective disclosure of information. Well, how do you correct it? Very much a test question.
I would say must promptly make public disclosure of the same information.
Yeah, and the way we do that, very testable, is through an 8K within 24 hours.
Okay.
So there's two uses of an 8K. A material non-public current event material thing, and then the other use is to fix an inadvertent violation of Reg FD.
And that's the one, it's 4 days and 24 hours,
That's right.
correct?
The 4 days
Okay.
is the material current event, and then the 24 hours is to fix an accidental violation of Reg FD.
Okay.
The Trust Indenture Act of 39 applies to.
I know it's corporate bonds, so it's B or C.
Excellent.
C, like Charlie.
See, it's not any size, it's 50 million or more. Who cares?
Okay.
The test question, I mean, for test purposes, the test question will be It is a contract between the issuer and the trustee for the benefit of the bondholders. So it'll be the definition.
Okay.
It's a written contract between the issuer and the trustee commercial bank for the benefit of the bondholders.
Okay.
The Securities Act of 33 covers all the following except,
Blue sky laws.
yeah, those are state laws. That's the Uniform Securities Act. Which of
Dean,
the following, yep.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to ask you. I know you have an appointment at 12.
Yeah, let me
Um,
right now. Well, let me just see because we'll be close. Let me just call him right now. Let's just see.
I I was just wondering, I'm not doing anything today. So if you want to
I
take
don't know
your,
what's gonna let us queue this back up is the problem with that. So
oh, okay.
we don't want to lose it. So let me just call him right now.
I just want to make sure you don't need a break or something. I feel
Oh,
bad.
that's okay. We'll get it done.
Hello?
Hey, this is Dean. Is this Benny?
Yeah, this is Billy. Hey, Dave, how are you?
I'm doing well. Hey, I had a tutoring session that I'm in the middle of, and she decided she wanted to do a shared screen test, and we're running a little over. Is it okay if I move us back a couple hours to 2 o'clock my time, or is that going to jam you up?
That's gonna jam me up. Do you have any other times? I mean, I'm doing a shared screen practice test, or maybe we can just reschedule.
Oh, okay. When's your test date? I want to do that. Like she's testing Monday, or when are you testing? I don't want to do it for your testing Monday.
I am testing December 11th.
Oh, okay. So we have some time. Okay. Can I, when I'm done with her, just call you and we'll figure out what works for the two of us?
Yeah, that
Does that
works.
work? Thank you. And then I'll throw in a, bonus overtime session or something. I'll make it up to you somehow, some way.
Okay,
Okay.
awesome.
Soon,
Appreciate
soon
you.
as you bet. As soon as I'm done with her, I'll give you a call and we'll figure this out.
All right, so
Okay. Thank you.
thanks. Bye.
Oh, nice guy.
Thank you, Dean. That's
You
so
bet.
nice
You
of
bet.
you.
I'd hate for us to in question 90 to kind of fold up shop before we. All right. So onward and upward, you are correct. Did you have a question about that? Well, you were just asking, you were being thoughtful and
Oh,
asking me, oh, you're so sweet. Okay. We're set now. But do you need a break? This is about halfway. We've
I'm
been.
good. I've trained myself.
Oh, there you go. I like it. The other reason I tell people to do practice tests is just for that, Nicole, to get their brain kind of used to 160 questions. I mean, the 24 is a slog. I mean, it is, and I sometimes wonder when people get those close but miss the mark scores. I sometimes wonder if they just got tired towards the end and, just didn't finish strong. I was joking, my mom, my building the off-grid location, my contractor, I told mom, I said, sometimes he works too hard on yesterday, and I'm afraid he's going to be tired. And, I don't know how to tactfully tell him, hey, I want you to finish strong. I don't want you to get almost to the end of this thing and run out of energy. So pace yourself, Bob, pace yourself.
Yeah.
Which of the following offerings are exempt from filing with the corporate committee on finance?
Um, okay. Which of the following are exempt from filing the corporate financing department? Investment grade non-convertible debt securities. Okay, so I feel like muni bonds are going to be one of them for sure.
Absolutely. Munis are exempt. I love it. So you can just always go to that answer set, toss out munis.
Look. Okay, so I'm going to say all of the above, or C.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Good job. I like how you attacked that one. Corporate securities distributed in a private placement under Reg D may be issued in compliance with 506B if which of the following conditions are observed. I like this. I would know the distinction between 506B and 506C.
Okay, so I know that with 506B, you can have up to 35 non-accredited
That is
investors.
correct. So we need one.
Um, no general promotion is permitted. That's correct. So it's all of the above.
There you go. Good job. And then remember with the C, you can have no non-accredited investors, but you can solicit
Right.
or promote. A member firm is holding a customer's unexecuted limit order to buy or sell a given security would be allowed to make which of the following trades for its own account in the same stock. Boy, the phraseology on this one is challenging.
So they can do the opposite. So they can buy if the customer is selling.
Yeah, they take the opposite side. Excellent.
And so that'd be A, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Retail communication relating to which of the following must be filed by an established firm within 10 business days of first use. Usually for an established firm, it's 10 days, within 10 days of first use, but this is saying pre-distribution.
So retail communications relating to which of the following must be filed with FINRA by an established member firm within 10 days. Is it all of the above?
Right on, right on. All mutual funds and DPPs, variable life, absolutely.
Okay.
Which among statements are true regarding the Code of Arbitration mediation rules of the Code of Arbitration?
Okay, so I know A is false.
Right on.
The decision of the mediator is final and binding. That's not true.
That's right.
Once mediation begins, neither party may withdraw without consent of the other party. Not sure on that one. Both parties to a dispute must agree to mediation. That's true.
There you go. Boom. If there is a restricted period under Reg M, which of the following are true of a syndicate member who is not a market maker in the subject security?
So Reg M is on my deemed to-do list.
Okay, so Reg M is primarily about follow-on offerings of securities, right?
Okay.
All these rules about can we be a passive market maker and under what circumstances would that be okay or not be okay? So here it's the restricted period. So that means we're doing a follow-on offering and we're a market maker and what can we do during this this restricted period? The basic premise, it's a conflict of interest to be both making a market in the secondary market at the same time you're doing an underwriting.
So for this one, I think we cannot solicit orders, but we can accept unsolicited orders.
Always, it's always going to be 3 is always going to be okay. That's going
Okay.
to be quantified that it's an unsolicited order, right?
hmm
So 3 is always going to be okay, no matter what circumstance I give you on the test. 3 is okay. So now you got to decide whether it's 3 and 2 or 3 and 1.
I think that they cannot solicit orders during
Right
that
on.
time.
Those are kind of a matched pair there, so to speak. Right. So unsolicited. So FINRA says, what the hell are you doing? I say, hey, it was unsolicited, man. I didn't, customer called me.
hmm
Call me. A registered rep is under investigation by FINRA for possible violation of conduct rules. Which of the long statements is true?
So the firm may not terminate the representative.
Yeah. I'm laughing because sometimes I think it would be easier to get rid of somebody than it is. So. Trace reports include all the following debt securities except.
Munis, C.
Right on. A T1 modifier displayed on a NASDAQ terminal indicates.
News is pending, so
I like
C.
this answer set. I like this answer set. So what would be T2? If this said a T2 modifier, what's the answer?
The news was just released.
Right on. And then T3 would be.
Quotes are now able to be entered.
There you go. And then there'd be 2 times under T3, right? 2, A and B. It would tell you can enter quotes, and then they will also tell you when we're going to resume trading.
Okay.
I like that answer. So. With respect to using past recommendations in a research report, which of the following statements most accurately expresses FINRA's ethical standards?
Okay. A representative sampling of investment recommendations, both winners and losers, must be made over the past 3 years and need to be disclosed. All investment recommendations, regardless of category, made over the past 3 years must be disclosed. I don't think that's true. A representative sampling of recommendations made over the past 12 months that are similar in type or category to the current one must be disclosed. A disclosure must be made of all recommendations made over the 12 months that are similar in type or category to the current. I think it's D. It's
Excellent.
Delta.
Excellent. Very testable. That is very testable, right? Sometimes the way we say that on test is you have to give them your entire universe of selections. You can't cherry pick.
Mhm.
Good job. SEC rules prohibit broker dealers from over borrowing on customer margin securities. Now, we talked about this earlier. So remember, over borrowing would mean you're using more than 140%,
Mhm.
right? So I got to get in trouble for this. And he said to his FinUp, yes, his FinUp that he needed to, get a bonus. And they go, why? He goes, well, we've been doing 140 and I got it to 160, right?
So let's see. The SEC rules prohibit broker-dealers from over-borrowing. Which of the following is true? Broker-dealers may borrow from banks in equal amounts equal to 140. That's true, I believe.
Right on. That's what they're testing about, right? You're not supposed to get more money than you need to support customer indebtedness, right? I told you the fancy word for this is you can't use customer securities to support broker dealer indebtedness. Over borrowing on customer margin securities would be using customer securities to support broker dealer indebtedness, right? So the answer is C, right? Broker dealers may use margin securities 100%. No, right? It's 140% of the debit. If the margin account's restricted, that's just, they're good at making up BS. Bill James is the guy who does the Q Bank, and he's a good friend of mine, but he's really good at making up good BS. Underwriting agreements and related documentation covering which of the following types of public offerings need not be filed for review by the corporate financing department.
Feel like it's offerings of open-end investment
Yeah,
companies.
good job, right? Because they have their own rules, 8.5%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you nailed it. A statutory disqualification. Ooh, you're disqualified by statute. Ooh. Applies to an employer and officer of a broker dealer who within the past years as,
B, like boy.
yeah, right on. If you willfully means you did it intentionally. You knew you were breaking the rules. I had a guy in a 24 class. Every time we go over a rule, he goes, well, how do you get around that? His name is Steve. I said, well, Steve, the point is you're not supposed to get around that. He said, yeah, I know. And anyways, then we said something and he responded. I said, Steve, the only way you would know that is if you did something you weren't supposed to do. I mean, how do you even know that? He goes, Dean, sometimes you do what you got to do. I said, well, let's be clear. That is not a good answer on a 24 or the FINRA or to the SEC or whoever.
Yeah.
An agreement between an introducing firm and a clearing firm allows the introducing firm to execute trades through firms other than the clearing firm. This is termed.
Is it a give up clearing agreement?
Yeah, there's a lot of weird words in our business, right? And that's a give up clearing agreement, right? The give up clearing agreement lets me not be monogamous with my clearing firm. Which of my statements is true regarding Reg A?
Okay, sorry, let me
Yeah,
just.
I think you're going to get this as your tutor. I think you're going to get this by process of elimination.
So issuers may raise up to 700 million. That's not right.
Right on.
Offer circulars may not be entered on the Edgar. I know that they use offer circulars in Reg A.
Mhm.
Tier 2 offerings are only open to accredited investors. I feel like I feel like this is going to be a bad miss, but general solicitation is permitted
Yeah,
on
well,
television.
remember, I asked you earlier. I think you should be able to get this, and here's why. I asked you, is a Reg A private placement or is it a public distribution?
It's public.
It's a public distribution, and since it's a public distribution, we would be allowed to what?
Solicit.
There you go.
Yay, so I got it right.
Yeah, no, I thought you would get it because you were on the good news for you, Nicole, is that you have enough base knowledge And, to get that base knowledge, I know how dedicated, disciplined, and organized you have to be. Kudos to you. So now, where that base comes handy now is these weird phrased questions where you go, "Ugh, okay, maybe I don't know the right answer, but I certainly know what the wrong answers are.
Mhm.
I know that, it's 70 million. You told me that earlier, 75 million, right? So C is out. You knew about offering circulars, but you say, what? I'm like, we're sure we can find. So I just like that. Welcome to 24. That's kind of the 24 challenges, that kind of stuff. When people don't have enough base knowledge, what happens is they get into the weeds on some questions and they can't even get to a 50-50 because they don't have
Okay.
enough background to kind of start, to dig in somehow, some way and say, okay, how am I going to attack this question? And I always think when you have good base, which you have good base, is to think, okay, let me go to process of elimination here. What do I know not to be correct? Right. And even if you don't get the right answer, at least you can get to a 50-50, and that's still better than 1 and 4, right?
Mhm.
Member of an underwriting syndicate originally offered shares of Hull and Smith Brothers, a reporting company, at an IPO price of 20. Which of the stabilizing bids would be acceptable? This is very much a test question.
D like Delta.
Yeah, it's got to be at or below the public offering price. How many syndicate members can enter the stabilizing bid?
1.
One. They call the stabilization agent, right?
Right.
We can only do it in what kind of deals? It's a legal form of pegging. We can only
Firm commitment.
write on firm commitment underwritings. Test question has to be in the prospectus. Better to be in the prospectus and not need it than need it and not have it. In an active competitive trading market, a market maker is quoting 1735, 1775, and the inside market for the stock is 1750, 1775. The last sale was reported 1760. If the market maker buys 100 shares of the stock at 1725 net, the amount of the markdown is, I like this question, we've talked about this earlier, and it's very testable.
Okay, this one will take me just a minute. I need to write it out. Okay, so the market maker is quoting 1735, 1775. The inside market for this stock is okay, so the market maker buys 100 shares from the customer at 720 or yeah, 1725. The markdown. Okay, sorry. It's funny because I actually know this question and I actually know the answer. I've
Actually,
memorized.
you know it because we did it earlier. There's a lot of stuff that is not meaningful to answering this very testable question. You should know that markups and markdowns are always based on the inside market,
Okay.
the highest bid and the lowest ask, right? So the market maker is buying at the bid. When the market maker buys, it's a mark down.
Mhm.
When the market maker sells, it's a markup. The previous question we had, you correctly told me that the markup was based on the inside offer or lowest ask.
Mhm.
I then asked you the opposite question, and we talked about the inside bid, the highest bid. So right now, the highest bid is 1750. And the bid is what market makers are willing to buy. Right now, there's a market maker willing to buy at 1750. You bought it into your inventory at 1725. The net has nothing to do with it. The amount of the markdown is. So it has
Is
nothing
it
to do with your quote. So that's meaningless, 1735, 1775. Right? That has nothing to do with answering. It's based on the inside market.
okay, so the inside if the market maker buys I feel like the answer is 35 cents, but I'm getting
Where are
25
you getting the
cents
35 cents?
because I memorized this question,
Well,
but I don't think I'm right.
no, you're not. Well, this is what I'm glad we're talking about this because you should have been able to kind of say, okay, well, I'm buying. I buy
Mhm,
at my bid. I bought it into my inventory at 17.25 when the highest bid was 17.50
mhm. Okay.
and it's 25 cents. Markdowns are based on the highest bid. Let me give you a chance to redeem yourself. 17.75, you have the lowest asking price there. By the way,
Mhm.
it's kind of funky that you're quoting 17.35. I don't know why now you're doing it at 17.25. If I were a compliance officer, I would have an issue with that, but that's not the question. I'd say, Nicole, well, why all of a sudden are you now buying at 17.25 when you were quoting 17.35? But in different question for a different day.
And that's actually what threw me because I was like, I, I was just, yeah, that I
Well,
did catch my
yeah, well,
attention.
we got you there. I mean, I'm with you. This is a separate issue about,
Okay.
sudden are you, doing the trade, sometimes we're being taped on the trading desk and, and it's when this is bad, it's really bad. But, this guy was quoted. So I reach out to the trader here and I go, hey, Dean here, compliance guy. I just saw you did a trade at 17.25. The inside market's 17.50. Our markdown is 25 cents. Different question. Why did you all of a sudden you're doing it at 17.25 when you were quoting 17.35? Because, well, our customers are sheep to be sheared. I'm like, that's a bad answer. This guy's on tape saying that he thinks of the customers as, sheep to be sheared. I'm like, no, right? So, by the way, one of the major changes they made in 24, I hate to sound like I get off on my long guy, but the 24 used to be 125 questions. And I would say, Nicole, join me Monday, Tuesday in class, test Wednesday, no pre-study, no post-study. And, there were people passing the 24 that were then supervising the trading desk. And the trading guys were way ahead of their compliance people. Because, the compliance people were a little behind the curve on interpositioning and this trading stuff. And that was the biggest thing they beefed up when they went from 125 to 150 on the 24 was the trading and the banking stuff. So, I mean,
Okay.
and packaged products person sometimes struggle with a little bit. I'm going to mark you wrong on that one.
Okay.
Which of the following describes findings under the code of arbitration?
They're binding on all parties.
Right
So
on, very testable. A stock or bond power represents which of the following?
power to accept dividends and interest.
No, it's assignment to transfer separate from the certificate. It's assignment to transfer separate from the certificate. It's A.
Okay.
So if you say, hey, Nicole, don't send me, so you say to me, Dean, don't send a fully negotiable stock certificate to us here at Vanguard through the US Postal Service. So, usually you would sign, Dean, the back of that certificate.
Hmm.
Technically correct, send it to Vanguard, we're back in business. But for security reasons, I'd like you to sign a separate stock power, bond power, send the certificate unendorsed. We get it here in the office, we'll staple that together, we're back in business. So stock or bond power is assignment to transfer separate from certificate. Or I sign it, I send it in to you, call me, you say, hey, Dean, you signed the certificate, but it's not technically correct. The certificate says J. Dean Tenney and you signed it Dean Tenney. I said, well, send it back to me. You go, no, 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 no. We're already halfway home here, Dean. I'll send you instead a stock or bond power. Assignment to transfer separate from the certificate. We don't need a stock or bond power to actually, accept dividends or that kind of thing from you. That's just a natural course of business that goes in there.
I
Right?
think that's maybe I was thinking it's like a certificate, like a physical certificate.
Well, that's what this is. Yeah, that's for a physical certificate.
Okay.
That's the only time we need a stock or bond power. Right? We love our older customers, but some of them still have physical stock certificates in safe deposit boxes. Right? And they go, oh, I went to my safe deposit box and I sent it off to you, Nicole.
Hmm.
And then you get it, and you say, hey, Dean, you forgot to sign the back of the certificate. Oh man. You know, think it's not a pain in the ass. They have the stock certificates, but I've already told him he had his safe deposit box. I go, what do you even put in there? And now I know he's gonna make fun of me because I got my watch box back there. I got a lot of expensive stuff. He goes, you don't have a safe deposit? I go, I'm off grid. It would take me 40 minutes to go to Flagstaff and get my Rolex or go to Kingman. I said, you know what I got? I got a firearm sitting right next to my door.
Oh.
All the following statements regarding gifts are true except.
The rule applies to gifts given by a member to its employees. So C.
Yeah, you are correct. What's the one true about spot checking by FINRA? Spot check.
So all members' written communication is subject to spot checking procedures. That's true.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah, no, when you're studying, you might want to read them all, but I do believe because the test is so long, Nicole, I do believe on Monday that when we get a name and shoot point and click and we feel good and it's choice A, there, as much as Dean says, read the full answer set. There's a fine line between read the full question, read the full answer set, and conserving brain cells,
Mhm.
brain power for later into the exam. So kind of a fine line between this is the other thing. I think you have a margin of safety, which I love. And one of the advantages of having a margin of safety is you can give yourself permission if you get some hellacious question and go, man, I'm just clueless. Just to say, you know what, I've got a margin of safety. I'm not going to waste my brain cells and get all jammed up on this thing. I gotta stick and move. I gotta, move the ball down the field into scoring position. So I gotta let that go. Now, if you want, I'm not a big fan of this, but you can assign it to the universe with a B.
Mhm.
Want circle back, but I'm not a big fan of that circle back. Members are required to provide information about SIPC to new customers.
At account opening and annually thereafter.
Right on, right on. SIPC is very testable. Cool. I told you I love the annual stuff. All that annual stuff is. Each of the following securities trade and interest except. So in most trades, the buyer of a bond owes the seller of the bond the dollar amount of the accrued interest from the last interest payment date up
Mhm.
to, but not including settlement under the Uniform Practice Code. Under the Uniform Practice Code, all corporates and munis have 30-day months and 360-day years. The Uniform Practice Code, regulatory settlement is T+1. Treasurers are goofy. They have an actual calendar. So one of these things, the buyer does not know, the issuer. That's called, by the way, trading flat. So this question could have said, which of the securities trade flat?
Is it zero coupon bonds?
Yeah. There's two ways to say this question, this way or trading flat. So when you buy a zero, you, the buyer, do not owe the seller the dollar amount of the accrued interest. Alberto Gomez is transferring his account to another member firm, and the account transfer form is being reviewed. Which of the following would be insufficient grounds for the broker dealer to take exception to the transfer? Very testable. How many days do we have to validate?
1,
How many days to transfer?
3.
Very testable.
Okay, so Alberto Gomez is transferring his account in another member firm and the account transfer form is being reviewed. Which of the following would be insufficient grounds for the broker dealer firm to make exception to the transfer? The firm disagrees with the valuation of the account, so D.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's not that. Love this term. Not a valid reason. I mean, you could have a valid reason for doing it. You can't just have a reason that you're just making up. If a representative reasons a listed technology stock is undervalued and solicits all customers to purchase the stock, which of the following is true?
This may be deemed as a blanket recommendation.
Right
So
on. That's a
C.
big no-no, right? I'm supposed to say, Nicole, everybody's situation is unique. I need to know more about you before I make a recommendation.
Right.
In a proxy contest, a member firm holding securities in street name for clients or beneficial owners must
send the proxy material to the owners at the issuing company's expense.
That's right. We can't charge customers to forward proxy materials. That's very much a test question. How many business days after settlement does a broker dealer who has failed to deliver securities to satisfy a sale? Well, this is called the customer protection rule. And it's to
Okay.
protect a customer from having a short sale that he did not intend. You would hate to find out you sold securities 20 years ago, never made delivery. So we've been talking about minutia that is low probability and not testable. And if so, very low. And we've been talking about minutia that is very high probability and is something you will see. This is one of those. This is definitely something you should know. It's very high probability.
This is one that I'm really struggling with. That every time I get this question, I do the be and go to the universe.
Okay, so here we go. So I call you up and you're a customer. I say, Nicole, margin clerk here, you sold the securities and you
Mhm.
haven't made delivery. T+1+2 has come and gone. You're a customer in good standing. I've got you a couple extensions. Where is the security? You say, well, Dean, I thought it was in my safe deposit box at Bank of America, but I guess it's in my safe deposit box at Wells Fargo.
Mhm.
Oh, really? I say, Nicole, to protect you from having an open short position at the broker dealer. Remember, you marked the ticket long. So that meant you had the security. And so you're now telling me you do have the security somewhere, but we have a fail to deliver that to the buying broker dealer.
Mhm.
And so to protect you, we're going to buy you in 10th business day after settlement. That's very much a test question. Now, so I call you, so you can't buy me in until the 10th business day after settlement. I go, Nicole, I can buy you in sooner. I just can't buy you in later. So I can
Mm.
certainly take action sooner, just not later. It's called the customer protection rule. It's to protect the customer from having an open securities position at the broker dealer. I mentioned, for example, you wouldn't want to know you sold, 100 shares in NVIDIA 5 years ago, never made delivery. And
Mhm.
now it's, 210,000 a share.
So is there different variations of that question? Like if they have to sell out a customer or if it's another broker
I can sell you
dealer?
out anytime.
Okay.
So if you buy a security, you haven't paid me for it. I can sell you out anytime. There's no like timeline on the sellouts, the buy it. And then remember, it's different if it's a customer. This is a customer. This isn't a broker dealer, right? So this is a customer. So the customer is 10. In a broker dealer situation, I can just buy you in and charge you for the difference.
Do you have a video on the customer protection?
Not on customer protection, I don't. Not on those 10 days. My friend Brian Lee on his YouTube channel has a beautiful video on buy-ins and sellouts. And
Ooh,
I'll tell you after we're done, I'll send you the link. It's really good.
perfect. Thank you.
Which of the following statements is not true regarding a standby purchase arrangement?
I feel like it's securities purchased in a standby arrangement are restricted for resale for 3 months.
Which of the following statements is not true regarding a standby purchase agreement? And you said securities purchase and standby arrangement are restricted for resale. That is true.
It is. I don't know why. I think I might just be getting tired now.
That's good. We want to take a break? We can take a break.
It's okay. I'll
You're
be.
nowhere, you're nowhere near, remember too, on your real exam, if you need to, take a mental trip to Tahiti. Don't be gone. Come back. But go to the bathroom, whatever you need to do.
Hmm.
So far we have not, we're at 3 hours. Exactly.
Hmm.
And we have, we're not having any kind of a time constraint on the actual exam. So it would be different if you were having a time constraint. You don't. So give yourself permission, maybe even like every 40 questions or so, to just kind of step away, gather yourself, come back for another 40, come back for another 40, because we want to finish strong, right?
Okay.
So I'll tell you what, why don't we, well, no, it's up to you. You want to take a break or you want to go forward?
Can we do 5 minutes? Is that okay?
Let's do 10. Let's call it
10.
10.
Okay.
Stop your recording and then remember to hit it when we come back.
Okay.
10 minutes, Alexa, set timer, 10 minutes.
10 minutes, starting now.
All right, see you. So we have where did we come back at? We came back at,
I think I knew all those too, so I think it's all right.
yeah, so that's fine. Okay, boom, boom, boom.
Okay, so
Lending arrangements.
okay, so they can if they're immediate family.
Right
They
on.
can if they're in the business of lending money.
Modified lending institution, indeed.
Is registered with the same firm as the representative.
Yep, all three, right?
Hmm.
Trustee is printed, open a margin account.
If it's provided for in the underlying documentation.
And I'm really happy with the recognition stuff you have is pretty good. So you're going to get a
Yay.
lot of those aim and shoot, point and click questions Monday. So that's good. Because we said we're going to save our brain cells for those. Is it based on the inside offer when the stock's at 35? The head trader of an institutional broker dealer receives an order to purchase 150,000 shares of XYZ. Prior to working the order, the trader purchases call options on XYZ or WXYZ, excuse me, for his personal account. This is an example of,
Front running.
yeah, remember that you're trading ahead of the customer orders. And most firms, that's going to be a strike-free offense. You're going to be, out. You know what painting the tape is?
Isn't that where they like create a false like amount of trades?
Exactly. That's exactly what that is. False impression of volume. Regarding the sale of security under FINRA rules, when is a transaction complete?
I feel like it's 1 in 3 C, but I'm not sure.
It can be done sooner.
Okay.
So that's why it's 1, 2, and 3. Right.
Okay.
So not bad. That's okay. No big deal. A first year current carrying firm has computed net capital 600,000. This firm will be in violation of net capital if its AI exceeds. So what is the AI to net capital number for a first year firm?
8 to 1.
Right on. So now we know how we're going to solve this, right?
Yeah. Let me just grab my phone. $4.8 million.
Right on. What is it for an established firm?
15 to 1.
What is it for early warning on established firm?
12 to 1.
Perfect. If you watch my videos, maybe I've told this story in my videos, maybe I've not told this story in my videos, but the person who was working for me was studying for her 27. She's not the FinUp. I am.
Mm-hmm.
And, when we close deals, we could have, challenges because, as I told you before, I could owe brokers millions of dollars that counts as AI, even though I haven't been paid yet. And so, I got to count it. I'm taking a double hit, payable and the receivable. Anyways, the long story short, the easiest thing is to get it off our books. But anyway, she came in and told me that she filed early warning on us. I said, you did? I said, well, a couple of things, Michelle. I mean, you're not the FinOp. I'm the guy who's supposed to tell them we're an early warning, not you.
Mm-hmm.
Regulatory authorities that we passed 12-1. I keep a pretty good eye on that. I'm surprised. I mean, I keep an eye on the balance sheet, and I've come to find out she was using the template for the first year firm in her laptop and not the established firm. So we were at 10 to 1, which would have been a violation had we been a first year firm. And so embarrassing. At the time I used to teach Series 27. So,
Oh.
I had to call everybody back, FINRA and the SEC. Hey, never mind. We thought we were an early warning. And I said, Dean, until further notice, we'd like a monthly focus. I go, hey, I'm with you.
Yeah.
Then she told me, goes, well, I thought that as a FinOp, I'm supposed to immediately report and didn't tell my 24. I go, yes, but again, you're not the FinOp, Michelle.
Yeah.
A registered rep with discretionary authority needs customer consent before purchasing.
Listed stock where the member has a control
That's
relationship.
right on. I think that the example I think is so appropriate and I use all the time is Merrill Lynch. I'm a Merrill Lynch broker. I have discretionary authority. I say, hey, I think you should buy some Bank of America stock. You say, why are you bothering me? You have discretionary authority, so I can't use it when there's a control relationship. Bank of America, the issuer, Merrill Lynch is a subsidiary, there's a control relationship. Under SEC rules, all the following could be considered good control locations for the safekeeping of customer securities, except.
Okay. I feel like it's a foreign depository.
Not a foreign depository, it's a foreign broker dealer.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I always, tease my Russian friends, right? And you say, Dean, where are my securities? I go, they're at Minitep, a Russian, Moscow-based broker dealer. No. They're at a foreign depository, UBS, Barclays, that's fine. Right.
Okay. But not with the physical broker dealer.
Right. On the code of arbitration, all monetary awards are,
30 days.
that's very much a test question. So,
And
we
it starts
talked about
accruing
that.
interest.
That's right, By the way, and it's part of aggregate indebtedness too, until you pay it, right?
Oh,
Which of the following must be approved by a principal before use?
not correspondence. So let's see.
Yeah, I like that. Process of elimination. You've eliminated 2, so that means C is out, D is out, A is out.
Yeah.
Hey!
Zippy. I think that's the only time it's ever happened to me.
Well, I joke, even test writers, if we told Bill, if I called the guy Kaplan who does this and say, hey, QID, da, 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 I just finished a session with Nicole and she was able to get it by process of elimination. He would change the answer set so that you wouldn't be able to use the trick.
Of course.
And
Of
I
course.
do take some heat, Nicole, even on 24s. I'm one of the few tutors out there that do talk about test taking tips, tricks, and memory aids. And I've had competitors go on rants about, test taking tricks. And I'm like, I never said somebody's going to pass any of these exams using test taking tricks. What I have said is that when all else fails, not bad to have a test taking trick or 2 in your bag, because it
It's
might be helpful,
strategy.
even if it gives you a placebo effect. If you even think you're a better test taker, then you are. Right? So,
Anything that helps.
but yeah, sometimes it doesn't work on, like 24s are a little tougher, but there's still some. Customer statements must be sent at least
Quarterly,
right on. Unless it's a penny stock, then it's
monthly.
right on. Which of my statements are true regarding a timestamp on NASDAQ or ATS?
Each quote increment receives the same stamp. No. Let me do this.
That's kind of a weird one.
Stamps are only used for extended trading. That's not true.
That's right. We're looking for something that's true.
A stamp will determine the ranking for execution. Well, it can if it's, but with price first.
That's right.
Market participants may not expect a timestamp for limit orders. I feel like that's false.
Yeah, it is false. We're looking for something that's true.
Each quote increment receives the same stamp. Oh, goodness. I'm going to go with B.
Love it, right? That's the whole point of the timestamp. Because remember, he said if there's a tie, the person goes first, it's based on when they got there. So that's what we mean by ranking. I don't like using the word ranking. But what that really means is the time. FINRA rules require broker-dealers to conduct AML training.
Annually.
Right on. And we have to conduct that annual test. We have to have a whole section on our WSPs about that. And we have to have a anti-money laundering officer, AML officer. And, annually is when we do the test. But, got to be careful about these kind of tricks. So do we only tell brokers about anti-money laundering once a year? That's when we conduct the test of our AML procedures. but your broker should be trained on an ongoing basis. Right, so it's not that A is a bad answer, it's just B is a little better. Right, so we
Okay.
continually reinforce to our reps, whether your compliance officer, you do it in a quarterly newsletter or, news from the front, you should always be talking about, I used to call it, don't let this happen to us. If I saw like a nice, like I just told you, the TD Ameritrade scenario, I go, wow, look at this. I want everybody to read this. Don't let this be us. Account transfer rules require a member to transfer positions in the subject account to the receiving within how many days following validation. Very testable. You told me this earlier, so I have no reason to believe you're not going to get it this time.
3.
Yeah, 1 to validate, 3 to transfer. And we remember that's under what we call ACATs.
Mhm.
And then do you know what TIF stands for?
What tips?
TIF, TIF.
Oh gosh. I
Sometimes
feel like
that calls the transfer instruction form. So
Okay.
sometimes they'll say, what would you submit to ACATS? And it's a TIF, the transfer instruction form.
Okay.
Which of all are considered retail communication, are FINRA rules and interpretations, and then what follows from this is it would require pre-distribution or principal approval.
Okay. So I am immediately going to eliminate emails to no more than
There
25
you go.
existing
That's
retail.
correspondence. You are correct. Eliminate 3. Correspondence can be approved pre or post distribution.
Okay. So I think it's 1 and 2.
You are correct. Excellent. Excellent. The 5% policy applies to, by the way, you could have also said, do I really think prospectuses require pre-distribution principle? But no, that can't be right.
Mhm.
That test taking trick is called reduction of the ridiculous. What does it look like if every time somebody's sending a prospectus to somebody, we got to get a principal approval? That would just be ridiculous.
Mhm.
The 5% policy applies to the sale of all the following except.
A.
Right on, you're getting that. You've nailed it every time you've seen it. Good job. At the most basic level, supervision is, wow.
B.
What it be? I
Mhm.
like it. I like that. You're quicker than the tutor. I didn't even see what other choices.
I've taken these a lot.
Guiding the firm to higher productivity. Yeah, that looks good to me. Which of the following statements regarding customer securities are true?
So 1 is true.
That's right. We can have, 34 says we have to have 2 vaults. 1 vault or box where we put customers' monies and securities, and 1 box or vault where we put broker dealers' monies and securities. That concept is called segregation. But the segregation applies to the broker dealer and the customers, not commingling customers. So you're correct. 1 is okay.
So I'm going to go with A.
You are correct. And boom. Right? Your money, my money. What's it matter, Nicole? It matters, right? So all the following statements regarding discretionary accounts are true, except or correct, except.
Look. Okay, so this one's an accept question. The power of attorney must be signed by the customer before execution of discretion. That's true. Each order ticket must be reviewed by the principal promptly after execution. That's true. Power of attorney must be reviewed annually with the customer. I don't think that's true. And then
Right, you
each
got
order.
another annually. You go, man, we never selected that being annually.
Okay.
One other point about the order ticket discretionary, it's marked discretionary, but if you call me and you want to do something, or I call you, let's say I call you, I say, hey, Nicole, I know I have discretion, but I'm not comfortable in taking it in this scenario. So I'd like to share it with you. And with your permission, I'd like to proceed. That order ticket is going to say solicited discretion not exercised. Meaning I have discretion, but I didn't use it. You call me and it's your idea, that ticket would be unsolicited discretion not exercised. A member firm enters a simultaneous buy and sell on the same type of same stock in rapid succession. This is an example of, I was looking for painting the tape, but it's not available to me as an answer, so I guess I'll have to take something else.
I think it's spinning.
Yeah, it's actually wash trading.
Is it? Okay.
Wash trading is the same wash sales. Not a wash sale for tax purposes. It's to give the false impression of volume. So it's
Okay.
painting the tape by another name. Spinning is where you're trying to put the securities in an IP allocation process in the place it would do good best for you. Right. So spinning is when, I put there used to be a guy, he's still around. He's a legendary guy called Frank Petrone. And at his firm, Credit Suisse, they had what are called friend of Frank's accounts. And if you were a friend of Frank, you would get, this and what these people had in common is people could do things for Frank, right? You do for Frank, Frank does for you. You don't do for Frank, Frank doesn't do for you. One of your offices is in the process of opening a new account with a customer, a rug importer. He indicates he does a lot of business overseas. He further indicates he was sending and receiving approximately 10 money wires per month. I think I would probably turn him down. The two count form files on your desk. As a compliance officer, you will likely
A.
approve the account with instructions to scrutinize the transactions. That sounds good. I was at a compliance seminar and they were talking about Mexican bank drafts. I thought it was terrible. The guy was a legitimate importer from Mexico. And he was using bankers' bank drafts, which are things that money launderers use. And they filed a SAR on the guy. The guys came tumbling down. They were telling a story about the guy they did catch because they
Ooh.
did. And I said, well, you actually destroyed that other guy who's a legit rug importer's life. Because right? You file that SAR on him, Nicole, you can't tell him you did.
Yeah.
This guy was legit, but the rumors got out that he was a drug dealer and destroyed his entire business.
And he's just like, I love rugs.
Yeah, I'm a rural guy, really. Under SEC rules, the phrase access equals delivery best refers to.
Electronic delivery of a final prospectus.
Yeah, and the test question, what follows from that is you can't assume that that's okay, right? If you're going to be using that, you got to say, this is how we're going to fulfill our obligations to deliver a statutory prospectus. All the following 506B are true except.
Okay, so this is an except question. It may not be advertised to the general public. That's true. All non-accredited investors are sophisticated. That's true. An offer memorandum is provided to all investors. That's true. The sale is limited to a total of 35 investors. That's false.
Yeah, we can have an unlimited number of investors, just no more than 35 who are not accredited. If no option is specified by a customer, orders placed in the NASDAQ book are filled based on.
Price, then time.
Right on.
C.
FINRA's Code of Procedure, the COP, provides proceedings for.
Okay. Disciplining a member or person associated with a member. That's true. Regulating the activities of members experiencing financial or operations difficulties. I'm going to say all of the above.
You are correct. You're really good. You haven't missed all of the above questions.
I feel like those are the easiest ones.
A registered rep has an existing client who is on the firm's do not call list. Which of the following statements are true?
So the representative may not call this client to recommend a security. So that's 2 is true. And the representative may call this client to discuss his account profile. So 2 and 3.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. FINRA prohibits its members from doing which of the following?
Favoring one mutual fund over another based on commissions received from executing portfolio transactions in a fund. I'd say yeah.
That's right. That's called the anti-reciprocal rule, that we can't demand reciprocity with a mutual fund. Hey, if you don't give me trades, I'm not going to sell your mutual funds. Big no. So you're correct.
Okay, favoring one mutual fund over another based on growth. That's okay. Soliciting portfolio transactions from a fund basis, or soliciting portfolio business from a fund based on the members' sales of the fund shares? No. So it's going to be 1 and 4.
Correct. And this is 1 and 4?
Oh, wait, soliciting? Yeah, 1 and 4.
Soliciting portfolio based on the member's execution ability.
Oh,
That's,
prohibited. Sorry, 1 and 3.
there you go. This is very tough. So this is called anti-reciprocal rule. In other words, you can't demand reciprocal business from, the mutual fund. A trader at a large firm calls a counterpart at another firm and strongly suggests the firm lowers its bid by 5 cents in return. The trader promises order flow. This is
Prohibited.
Yeah, you're not supposed to collude with people who are market makers. Market makers are supposed to be doing what they're doing based on their own interests. So, the one that it would be like collusion is I show up on the board and you say, "Hey, Dean, welcome. There's 4 or 5 of us. You're our 5th market maker, and we take turns on who has the inside quote each day. So, Friday will be your day. No, market makers aren't allowed to collude. You're not allowed to intimidate them. That's what that's about." Under federal banking law, a bank is prohibited from tying a loan to investment banking services by the bank in which of the following situations? Not testable, but this is called stapled financing. Where can a bank provide stapled financing? I mean, they'll not only help you with the deal, they'll, lend you the money.
Okay. Under federal banking law, the bank is prohibited from tying a loan to investment banking services provided by the bank in which of the following situations: making a loan to a company to be repaid from the proceeds of a non-exempt bond offering, making a loan to a company to be repaid from the proceeds of an exempt offering of commercial paper underwritten by the bank, making a bridge loan to the company to support a merger or acquisition. Is it D?
It's actually all of these.
All of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But remember, this is again this kind of thing where I'm demanding business.
Okay.
Saying I'm no loan for you unless you do this for me.
Oh,
Right. So that's kind of what that's about.
okay.
I wouldn't worry about it at all on the test. If a broker dealer is selling shares from an affiliated company, under which of the following conditions could the broker dealer sell these shares to account over which the broker dealer has discretion?
Okay, so if a broker dealer is selling shares in an affiliated company, under which of the following conditions could the broker dealer sell the shares to an account over which the broker dealer has
I
discretion?
would go back to my example. So Merrill Lynch is raising money for Bank of America.
Mm-hmm.
So the broker dealer is selling shares of the affiliated company, in this case, Bank of America. Under which of the following conditions could Merrill Lynch sell these shares to an account at which he has discretion?
C.
Right on. If you can put some names to it, sometimes it helps, right? I call it a cast of characters. And so,
Yeah.
assuming you know the cast members or potential cast members, you can put in names like if they say a general securities principal, like, oh, that's me. Registered rep. Oh, hey, that's so and so. All the following must be pre-filed by a first-year member firm, except.
I feel like the prospectuses and preliminary prospectuses.
Yeah, we don't pre-file that. I mean, you're supposed to make delivery of that right on.
Right.
Yeah, first year with firms, we assume you don't know, about good taste in public communication. So we like to see everything on bids. I'm joking, but that's the idea. First year firms might be a little more aggressive than, you know. Hey, listen, as a baby broker, in retrospect, and when I look back on this, I think the Smith Barney broker who took me to task was correct. Who I know as a baby broker. And what I did was, in those days, I was driving around in a Porsche Cabriolet, and
Ooh.
that's when I would pull next to another expensive car. I'd put a little thing on their windshield and I'd say, Nicole, my name is Dean. I'm in the car next to you. And I found that people who drive vehicles like ours have financial problems indigenous to being successful, and, reach out to me if you'd like some help with your investments, basically. Anyways, one time, unbeknownst to me, I put it on a Smith Barney broker's windshield. And
Oh.
he sent it back to me, corrected my grammar, and said,
Oh.
Dean, we don't put things on windshield. That's for people who like wash cars or clean houses. That's not for stockbrokers. I go, well, yeah. Listen from my principal. And to be honest, I did open a couple accounts out of it. So, hey, in
Hey.
retrospect, I think I'm probably now the guy who would send it to the baby broker saying, no, that's not how we do it. If XYZ Corporation intends to offer stock in a public offering, it must do all the following except
C.
C, publish a tombstone in a free writing prospectus. Publish a tombstone, issue prospectus, file registration. Yeah, I've given that answer set. Trust Indenture Act of 39 applies to which of the following?
1 and 3.
Yeah,
So
I
A,
don't know why they're asking that, but that's true. You're correct. Right? Because it's an interstate, it's SEC, crossing state lines, and it's about bonds.
and it's corporate bonds over 50
That's
million.
right. There you go. You got that earlier, right? Your friend is a licensed life insurance agent whose client wants to purchase a variable annuity. You are a licensed securities and insurance agent. I like this one. Your friend wants you to sell this policy and split commissions. This is very testable. No concessions, discounts, allowances to people who are not registered.
I think it's A.
That's right. Right on. Both people have to be properly registered. It's a big no-no, right? There's lots of life insurance agents, very successful men and women who don't want to take 6 or 7s. Well, they don't want to take a 6 or a 7, then they can't get commissions on variable annuities. Oh, here we go. Market maker is quoting a stock at 1050, 1054, 5 by 10, which is the inside market. Now, what that means in plain English is that I have the highest bid, I have the lowest ask. So that means 1050 is the highest bid, 1054 is the lowest ask. The 1050 bid for 500 shares represents a customer limit order. Okay, so the customer wants to buy it at 1050, and that was higher than my previous bid. That's why I'm displaying that. So I was at something like 1048, 1049, and I received this order. While the customer order remains on the book, the market maker can only buy the stock as a principal at which of the following prices?
Okay, sorry. These ones I might just need to work out in my mind.
Oh, please do. Take your time. Take your time.
Stock at just the inside market.
I don't know if it's helpful, but I'm going to add some additional phraseology here.
Mm-hmm.
What we would say in the business with, test securities industry phraseology. Under what circumstance can you step ahead of this customer's order?
Mm-hmm.
Step
Yeah.
ahead.
Okay, so the customer's trying to buy 500 shares at 1050.
That's right. And then they're asking under what circumstance can I buy this stock?
I can buy it at 1049.
No, I have to do it at a better, higher price.
Oh gosh, because you buy low. Okay.
That's right. So
Sell
1049
high.
is trouble. If I buy that at 1049, I better fill him at 1049 as well.
What's funny is when I'm not doing this, like with you, I actually do pretty good on these
No, that's
questions.
okay, Nicole. That's okay. No, I think you're fine. I've told you before,
Ugh.
3 questions left to being done. And listen, I don't think there's any red flag. I think that some of these you do know. Yeah, but by the way, we got to build that factor into on Monday that we are going to miss some that we still know. Sometimes I
Okay.
actually hit the wrong button for some, who knows when we go through the ones we missed. Sometimes somebody's giving me the right answer. I clicked the wrong button. That can happen Monday too. So that's why that margin of safety is so important, whether it's, you're a dean and you're a little nervous about it, or whether you're, tired or whatever. That's just one of those, variables, fudge factors that we got to deal with. And I don't think we're going to be pushing the button here and finding that you're at risk. A member engaged in a fixed priced offering of securities, common stock from a customer, the proceeds of which will be used to buy the new issue. The member will be presumed to be in compliance with 5141 if the price paid. I like this. We're not supposed to give you an inducement. Let me just give you an example of violation. I call you and I want you to participate in my new deal. My new deal, I typically make 7 or 8%. And, secondary training, I maybe make, like, let's say 2%. And so I have an incentive to want you to get into my new deal. And you say, well, Dean, you have my account. You see I'm all tapped out. I said, well, Nicole, I'll tell you what, again, no quid pro quos. No if for that. I said, well, right now, Nicole, the bid is 15, but if you'll agree that you're going to take the proceeds from that stock and put it in my new deal, I'll give you 1505. I'm not supposed to give you an inducement or incentive to get out of security A to get into security B, is what this is about, right? So you'll in compliance if you pay what for the security.
Okay, so let me see. So the members engaged in a fixed price. I can tell I'm tired. Let's see
That's what we
there.
get 2 more. So I kind of give you an example. So I say, Nicole, right now, the inside bid, the highest is 15. But if you'll agree that you're selling, remember, you should know that when you're selling, you're going to get the bid. Right. So that's the first thing. We should be able to get rid of B and C right out of the gate because customers don't sell at the offer. Right. They sell at the bid. So it says the member is engaged in a fixed price offering of securities, purchases common stock. So I'm buying. Buying stock, the proceeds of which are going to be used to buy the new issue. The member firm will be presumed to be in compliance with the price paid. Now, I just told you a violation for me would be to say, if you, Nicole, agree to do it, I'll give you 1505. I'll give you another nickel higher than the independent bid, the inside bid right now, if you agree to take the proceeds and buy my new issue.
So it's D, like Delta?
That's right.
Okay.
I can't get that inducement. Right. You said, or even you to approach me. You said, well, Dean, I'll tell you what, you see that 1,000 shares I'm sitting on with the bid of 15? I said, yeah. I'll tell you what, if you want me in your due deal, you give me 1505 and I'm in. I go, well, Nicole, I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to give you higher than the bid to get you to, and as inducement to get you out of deal A and put you into deal B.
Okay.
2 important considerations in determining the scope of a member's suitability obligations when making recommendations to institutional customers include
D, like Delta.
D as in dog, yeah. Right. In other words, I have a higher standard if I don't think these institutional customers can act independently. I was the investment banker for the government of Angola. It would be funny when my Angolan friends would visit me in San Francisco. People would say, your African American friends were here. I go, they're not African Americans. They're
African, yeah.
Not African Americans. And, anyways, they are former revolutionaries.
Oh, wow.
And they sell, I don't know how many billions of barrels. And, I was helping them put their money into the US. And, it's obvious where the money comes from. It's from selling, the oil. But anyways, they're not very sophisticated. Now, if it comes to ambushing somebody, they're pretty sophisticated. But when it comes to investing in private equity and venture capital in the US, not so much. So the idea here is Dean has to be a little more gentle with them because they're institutional investors, but they're not really capable of independently evaluating the investments. Right. And that means I got to help them with that. Right. They sent it in these countries like this, they're the people who win that have kids, and sometimes we refer to their kids as princelings. In other words, they didn't fight the Civil War, they didn't win it, but now they're, moms and dads are, the new elites. And anyways, they sent a lot of these, 15 of them to San Francisco for me to do a training course for them on investments and things like that. And I got so exasperated with one of them not showing up on time. I said, listen, I hate to have to call your dad and say, can't show up on time, because when your dad was around, if we don't show up on time, somebody gets killed.
Ooh.
A member firm may email trade confirmations to customers.
With written consent of the customers.
Yeah, sure. Boom. All right, let's see how you did. I think it's going to be good news.
Oy.
Woo, man.
Ooh.
I don't think, listen, if you miss your mark on Monday, you don't need a tutor, you need a psychologist. I'm teasing. No, I think you're fine. Let's see what we missed. Let's see what we missed. Which of the following does not require principal review? We said any,
Correspondence.
yeah, I don't think, the only reason you weren't right on that is because it says any. And there's some institutional communication that would still require principal approval. So yeah, that's not a bad miss. Yeah, now we know. Right, 10, that's just something, it's a flashcard question. I don't think it's going to be material.
Okay.
Yeah, there's another one, right? And that makes sense. So it's the challenge because some things are not vague and some things are vague. What I mean is they're purposely left vague, like the word prompted. That's purposely left vague so we can say, sorry, that wasn't prompt enough. Right? Like how often should you supervise a discretionary account? Here we go. Frequently and diligently.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And you say I checked it every 15 minutes. Well, it should have been 10. Right. So whoop, let's see. Our next one is, yeah, we did that one. Now that's just another one of those ones that you either know or you don't. I don't think it's high risk. That is high risk. For the 25 days is high risk and the 14 is high risk.
Okay. I'll put that on like my study.
There you go. I wouldn't worry about the 30 days, but I would know the annual review.
Okay.
It's 2 people and they got to be principals. Be notified. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about that. I would know that if you terminate your account, it does require notification. I wouldn't worry about whether it's immediately or 15 days. And then I told you about this. You have to tell them about any disputes you've had with your accounting firms. Right? And then you need a letter from the old guy and the new guy saying they discussed it and everything's hunky-dory. Yeah, who cares? I wouldn't worry too much about that. Yeah, this is by completion of the trade. So that was as true except, and that's why B is not as completion of the trade. I wouldn't worry about that one. We have some nice rolls. Yeah, this makes sense because that market price could change. So I thought we were going to miss this one.
Remember when I was like, isn't it twice? My gut's telling me twice. So
I don't know if it's twice. Let's read a rationale. The public offer price taken by additional in the case in the open market, which will fluctuate. Yeah, I don't know if I don't even think it's twice. I think I can do it at the offering, whatever the offering is, whatever the price is at that given moment. So I don't know. We can
just multiple times.
Yeah, I don't think it's testable, but trace report. Yeah, that was a stupid one. I wouldn't worry about that. You nailed everything you need to know about trace. So whether we display the dealers, I don't think is important. I know
this one.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that, but you know it if you do. Yeah, this one was definitely testable. It had a lot of gobbledygook in it, but we should definitely know. Takeaway is that markups are based on the lowest ask, the inside ask, the inside market. Markdowns are based on the highest bid, the inside bid. In fact, that's testable to know that the inside market is the highest bid and lowest ask. And to know the 25 cents. So we got a couple of these. 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, that wasn't a bad miss. You just didn't put the 2 in there. Who cares? Now foreign broker dealer. I would know that one. That's not a good control relationship, a good location. The other one that is a credit union, that wouldn't be good either.
Okay.
Anti-money laundering annually. You said annually, but that's when we do the test. But it's kind of a trick question, like on focus reports or anything like that. Does that mean we don't have to be in compliance during the year? No, it doesn't. So that means we should be in compliance with the rules. where we actually do the quarterly or annually or whatever, that doesn't mean that there's gaps in doing the training. Wash trading, who cares? That's called painting the tape. And so wash sales are trades where there's no beneficial change in ownership. Well, that was pretty good, my friend. So, listen, so I think you did great. I can't imagine, you do have my cell?
I do, yes.
Call me from the exam site, but if you need me to call on Sunday Funday, feel free to do so. You owe me $500.
Perfect. Will you send me a bill?
Yeah, or let me make an offer to you.
Oh,
What people love on the channel is to be able to see people like yourself take the test with Dean rather than watch Dean. And if you will give me permission after you pass your exam to put this on the channel as a replay, I will waive the $500 for you, and we'll call it the Even Steven.
oh my
Cool.
goodness. Yes.
Okay, so since you give me permission, now I need to put out my Kaplan commercial, because Kaplan gives permission for me to use their content in situations like this on the channel. If you are looking for Kaplan content, the Kaplan discount code is Guru15 at checkout. That's a 15% discount code. Thank you, Nicole, so much for allowing others to take a free ride with you. I hope the others realize how much dedication, discipline, and organization it takes to do as well as you did today. And I know
Aw.
that a lot of 24s, unfortunately, have other commitments. I know some of you watching the video are saying, well, I don't have that, or, hey, it is what it is.